call this meeting to order. May I have a first? Lisa, second. Alex, all in favor? I'm going to take another motion to adjourn to executive session for the purposes of legal and personnel. Anything? All right. May I have a first? Lisa, a second. Mark, all in favor? All right, thank you. Right. The board has returned from executive session and there were no actions taken. Can I have a motion to open the meeting? First, Alex, a second. Bill, all in favor? Let us all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. As president of the board, here are my updates for the public. Good evening, everyone. We are excited and hopeful as we look ahead to what promises to be an outstanding school year. There's always a special energy this time of year filled with anticipation, preparation, and a shared commitment to our students and to our community. Next week, we will be welcoming back our amazing teachers for Superintendent's Conference Days as we prepare to greet our students on September 2nd. It's time to come together with fresh ideas, renewed energy, and a strong sense of purpose. Recently, the Board of Education held its annual retreat where members engaged in thoughtful discussion and developed the goals for the 2025-2026 school year. These goals will be presented this evening, followed by a discussion ahead of their formal adoption. As part of our yearly preparations, we also will be conducting our building walkthroughs next week. These visits help to ensure our facilities are safe, well-maintained, and ready to provide a welcoming environment for both students and staffs. Over the summer, our district's negotiating team continued to work diligently, meeting with our Teachers Association in a good faith effort to make progress on reaching an equitable agreement. Our goal is to reach a fair and sustainable contract that both supports and recognizes the vital work of our teachers while ensuring the long-term fiscal health of the district. Above all, we remain dedicated to providing the children of Cold Spring Harbor with the best education possible. As part of this commitment, the board is focused on strengthening the support we provide to our students and parents so that together we can continue to achieve excellence in education for all. A key part of negotiating in good faith is respecting the process itself, which means not discussing specific details publicly before fact-finding is complete. Doing so risks undermining the progress we have made to date and making it more difficult to reach an agreement. Fact-finding, which has begun, will provide a detailed review of the items being negotiated between the parties. Until then, we will continue to protect the integrity of the process so that we can move forward to a fair and sustainable resolution as quickly as possible. As we stand at the threshold of a new school year, there's a genuine sense of excitement and purpose. Together, we are poised to make 2025-2026 school year one of growth, achievement, and pride. Thank you, and here's to a wonderful school year ahead. All right. Now, I'm turn over the meeting to our superintendent for his report.
Thank you very much, Heather. Good evening, and thank you for joining us tonight at the August 19th Board of Education meeting. Tomorrow, August 20th at noon, student schedules grades 6, K through 6, and 8 through 12 will be released on the parent portal. I encourage all parents to take a moment this week and throughout the school year to ensure that their contact information is up to date, including their phone numbers and email addresses in case we need to reach out during the school year. For our 7th grade students, schedules will be distributed at the orientation barbecue coming this Monday. At that same orientation, students in grades 7 and 10 will receive their new Chromebooks, and our 4th grade will receive their devices during the first week of school. As always, summer has been an incredibly busy time in our schools. Our custodial staff has been hard at work, deep cleaning classrooms and preparing buildings. Schedules have been carefully created. The hiring efforts have been in full swing. Curriculum writing has also taken place across the grade levels and departments, ensuring that instructional programs are ready to launch. So much has gone on in preparing for the start of the school year. Across the district, we will be welcoming over 20 new teachers, expanding our ICT program, lowering our class sizes both at the elementary and at the secondary levels. We also are thrilled to welcome back 2 familiar faces. Ms. Kim Libertini, returning as our Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, and Dr. McCurdle, formerly Ms. Sixnell, rejoining our World Language and Special Education departments. Meanwhile, sports practices for the fall season are well underway. Student summer assignments are being completed, I hope, and rehearsal for musical events have already begun. Today we hosted new family orientations at Lloyd Harbor, Goose Hill, and West Side, and our junior senior high school new orientation will take place on August 25th, 10 a.m. in the PAC. Parents and students today were so excited to be in the new buildings, getting a tour by our ambassadors, and seeing what classrooms they'll be sharing throughout the school year. The parents were very happy, as the students were, to join the Cold Spring Harbor family. I want to thank our building principals for putting on wonderful presentations today. All the parents were so excited and thankful for the work you've put in making the presentation and making them feel welcome at each of the buildings. Thank you. Our facilities and safety upgrades also took place over the summer. Security fencing and gates have been installed across the district. Additional cameras have been added, along with additional security measures, and building repairs have been completed in preparation for opening day. Next week, our staff will return for Superintendent's Conference Days, which will provide important opportunities for professional development, curriculum work, classroom setup, and training as we get ready to accept our students back in Cold Spring Harbor. I continue to be deeply motivated by our outpouring of support and dedication from our families, staff, and community. Cold Spring Harbor truly is a very special place. As we enjoy these final weeks of summer, I encourage everyone to spend time with family and friends and take care of yourselves, and if someone who is in need, take care of them. I'm excited to announce that at the start of the school year at our junior senior high school, we'll hold an election to select our student representative for the Board of Education. More of this to follow in the coming weeks. Thank you for being here tonight, and thank you as always for your commitment to the students of Cold Spring Harbor. Thank you, Heather.
Thank you, Joe. This is the first discussion section of our agenda. Tonight, we will be discussing the 2025-2026 board goals. All right. I'll start with the first goal that we have here. It's attached to our agenda. Does everyone have a copy? All right, the first one is to strengthen the college application experience by implementing tools and strategies that promote earlier preparation, improve communication with students and families, and provide clear progress tracking. Anyone have anything to discuss? Thoughts on the goal?
I think this looks like a good goal to me. Certainly, our college application, our kids have great access to college counselors. It's a nice ratio. I think continuing to strengthen the good work that's happening obviously is beneficial. And being specific in, adding some tools and strategies to promote earlier preparation makes a lot of sense to me. The tracking, I think, is really important.
Great.
So
Mark?
at the end of the year, how do we know if we did a good job on this goal? What should we use as a metric or 'cause we want to be able to measure if we're executing on it. What are we going to use as the benchmarks?
So I think we could look at what we did roll out for our students. We could see whatever the tracking method is, and we shared some of these, whether the tool is that our students will be using to keep track of the schools that they apply to and make sure that the communication has been clear. We have something for the students to keep track of all the work that they're doing and what is expected for them for each of the schools. Some schools are different, requiring different requirements in application and the like. So making it as easy as possible for them to keep track of where they are in the process and to make sure they're on track to do this. As we know, the application process for college is starting early and earlier every year. So we want to make sure our students are well-versed in what's expected of them, give them enough time to complete the applications, complete the essay writing process, to visit schools, have schools come here. So I said a lot there, so there are a lot of things we could track. I think those are all things we could take into account to make sure we're giving students all the opportunities for them to select a school that's right for them and give them the tools to make sure that they're applying with plenty of time to do a good job on their application, a great job with their application.
So are we asking guidance to change the way they've done this in the past, or?
Some of it is looking to revamp, to look at how we're doing, to see how we can improve, to make sure that students are very well versed. I spoke to Miss Emily, a little bit, Jeanette, about updating our website to make it very clear. We have a new website, have everything very clear as to how they process their applications for the students, and not just for the students, for the parents to understand what's expected of them.
Yeah, I hear what you're asking though, Mark, like what metrics could we look at? And I think what gets tricky is if we say things like, well, how many kids got into their first or second choice school? Is that something that then puts the college office in a position of recommending schools that aren't as much of a reach for kids? We're a school where we let kids take their, we have open enrollment for classes, and then are we going to say, well, we want to make sure we're getting first or second choice schools, so only apply to schools that you could. It just makes me, when we look at metrics, I just want to be careful that we're using metrics that still allow some students to really reach for the stars if they want to, and
Right.
Does that make sense?
I think some of it is like we have here. It makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
And promote earlier preparation. So we're moving the timeline up. That helps us. Having a website that's very clear and sending communications home to parents and students outlining where they should be in the process
Right, I think
is
that
important.
I think that it's not something that can be just measured senior year. It needs to be
No.
measured at the end of junior year. Do the parents and the students feel comfortable where they are? That, okay, come September, my child, or, come the fall, my child will be ready to apply to schools. At the end of sophomore year, does my child feel ready to step into junior year, have a plan for the next 2 years? I think it's I think it's a process, really. I don't know if we can
Yeah, no,
really
I'm-
gauge it at the end of it
I'm
every
not
year.
looking for us to tally if students got in their first choice, second choice. That's a metric that I'm saying if we break this down, implementing tools, what tools, if they're new tools, when are they getting implemented? Strategies, what strategies, when are they getting implemented? Earlier preparation, we talked about improved communication, what type of steps does that, like those are the metrics I'm looking for. What, if you break this sentence down, what does that mean? When do we hope to achieve that, and what do we hope to achieve, and provide clear progress tracking? So those can be measured if we're hitting them, not hitting them. That's where I was going with that.
I think I'm sorry, Bill.
Sorry, I agree with that. Like, everybody might have a different version of what earlier is. My version would be 9th grade. And I guess my bigger question is there consistency? So I understand, like, with the college essay, there may be certain sections of Comp and Lit where the essay is part of the class. I don't know if that's right or not, but I feel like we should sort of work through and have.
And people should know what's right and what's not too. That's the other thing. It shouldn't just be what we, like, here we are on the school board and we're not sure what's right or not for how
Yeah.
the kids are being
Right.
instructed on their essay, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like, somebody
Yeah, yeah.
centrally should decide, this is when we're gonna take care of essay, and it's gonna be consistent regardless of which teacher or counselor you have. We're gonna have a conversation about extracurriculars at some early point, because if you get to 11th grade and haven't really participated in much, your application's not gonna be as strong. So these are all optional. Not every family or child wants that, but I think there is some difference in consistency, having been through the process, where you may have a different experience depending on how you get through.
And I think that's working with Jeanette and the guidance
Yeah.
department and the building as a whole, as what tools do we have now? What are the messages we're sharing? How do we make those messages consistent? And we make sure that everyone has availability to those messages, and it's up to them to take them. Like, we can't force you to be part of a club. When we say, and you're absolutely correct, starting in 11th grade or 12th grade to join a club is a little bit late to the game. Where starting in 7th, 8th grade is a better time to show a long-term commitment to something that you believe in, and you could work to maybe being an officer of the club and having a leadership role. So looking at all those things that we do and making sure that we put it out there. I know, like, this year, Jeanette shared our presentations. They weren't just geared to say the 11th grade presentation, only the 11th graders were invited. Everyone was. So they could understand, like, this is a good process for you to start earlier on.
Okay.
So
So I
it's-
guess I think my ask would be to fill in what Mark was saying, is maybe some tactical steps that fulfill this goal. Like, we're going to have, a program that achieves these 5 things, and these are the grades, or ages that we'll target at them at, and, cover things like standard testing or not. That's changing as we speak, right? Colleges have been test optional. I think they're vastly moving away from that in the next year or two.
Right, they're moving back to wanting tests, and then having this on a website allows someone who's in 6th grade to say, oh, I could look at this also.
Right.
Or 7th grade and say, joining a club now, or I could use this to my advantage to be part of the college process. And I think that's part of which we will discuss at the end here, what is a reporting back process going to be? When will we do those reports? So quarterly, 4 times a year, we'll report back as to the progress that's going on for all our goals, to the board to say, is that enough, is that not enough, and to see
Okay.
where we've been and what we decided to do.
So, for example, what would the first report back on this goal would be in when? October?
So I provided 2 options. I'm thinking either November or an option 2 or October.
Okay.
Those, like, option 1 was in November, and option 2 started in October. So there are 2 selections in here as to which path we want to take. And they're roughly 2 to 3 months apart, depending upon when we start.
Do you think they should be consistent for all the goals, or are you going to need more time for certain things, more lead time?
Well, I think it's good for all the goals, at least to give some updates. Some of the items that we're going to discuss later on are going to be ongoing for a long period of time. Some are going to be easier to accomplish and to do. We talked about some of the, and then some might be we just do little tweaks. Like, we have 90% of it done by the first or second report back, and then it's a fine tuning as we move along. I don't think there's anything wrong with reporting each one at the 4 sets of report back. It just depends on how far along we are with each of the items.
Okay.
And Joe, our goals help to direct what the district goals.
Our goals help to direct the district goals, my goals, the building
Right.
goals, the department goals.
So this goal being a board goal then is something that obviously impacts the college guidance office, but
Correct.
also other departments, in that if there's English teachers doing preparation for essay writing, if there's clubs, right,
It's clubs that interest, like, that goal reaches back to Goose Hill. They do Career
Right.
Day, what they call Hero Day, for students to realize maybe something they're interested in. You may say, maybe that's too early, but a student might be interested in becoming a doctor or an engineer, who we've had come in and talk to students. So it really incorporates this goal all of our buildings and all of our staff. It gives students insight and experiences as to possible careers going forward. It may be, I want to be an engineer, I absolutely don't want to be an engineer. At least gives them the flavor of some of these experiences so they could start that path in their career. which happens at all of the buildings, which is nice. It really incorporates everyone.
Okay, but say we roll into November 18th and we have the update and it's on this subject and they give a report. We have no idea if a goal was reached or not because we don't know what the objectives were. So they come and say, we've done X, Y, and Z. Okay, that's great. But does that mean they hit their goal, or does that mean the board goals being accomplished? You know, goals without measurement are aspirations, and I think what we're looking for here is action. We need a plan, and what specific tools, what specific changes to strategy we need, and maybe, I don't know, we don't put it in here, but we certainly at some point want to get an action plan, and I think there's general consensus, and correct me, colleagues, if you disagree. We want to see change in this area for the better, and just to have someone come in and give us an update in the 18th, oh, thank you very much. We have no idea if that's enough progress.
I think unless that update says, here are the tools we implemented, here's how we shared and promoted earlier preparation for students by developing the following website, booklet information, and then sharing with the students. Here are the parent meetings we've had. Here are the student meetings we had or are scheduled depending upon the time of year. Those will be clear-cut items that how we've done in progressing to achieving this goal. And I think it's something we look at every year to see, was that too early? Was that too late? Those are the things. I can't say what they are now because we're just discussing them now.
Right.
Well, to Mark's point, though, so then let's say, and forgive me for moving the timeline up here on you, Mark, but let's say if it's the October 14th meeting, then is it fair to say for these goals for that October 14th meeting, the first thing is the presentation that incorporates all of the mapping out of the school year from for each goal and like what the actual goals are to be hit between September and June, and then in that October presentation also include what I've started on, right? So here's my goal through June. Here's what I've accomplished thus far. Here's the plan for the next quarter. I look forward to seeing you in December. Right? Does that
Yes.
make sense?
So
Just
you-
from like an
helpful.
organizing. I think things like that help me
Mhm.
just to have a plan, right? So,
Right, so we're saying the first report back, here's our map for the year where we plan to be.
plus work done. So
plus,
it's not
right,
just the
plus
map,
work
like we're
done.
not starting mid-October
Correct.
because like
Plus work
the
done.
trains left the station. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Great. Okay, everyone's comfortable with how it's written, to keep it as written in the draft we have? Any tweaks? Okay. Moving on, teach to mastery.
So Heather, this goal was originally, I think, the one that said also to improve our ranking. Is that right?
Well, personally, I think, and what I was going to suggest, that we should keep that goal. I think we made progress on that goal.
Yeah.
I mean, Joe, you could share some of that with everybody tonight. But I think it's important to keep that and keep making progress towards that. And I do like this new goal of teaching to mastery because
As a separate goal,
As
but
a
not as a
separate goal.
replacement goal. I think it's
Personally.
replacing, in this, it's replacing that other goal. So did we intend to drop the other goal? Because I always felt that that was
Yeah, I was
one of the most
surprised.
important goals.
I was surprised to see it wasn't on the list.
So I have it written here, and that would be improve Colesman Harbor ranking Long Island in New York State.
Yeah.
I
And
think
then
we
That is
should
still
keep
a
it the
goal.
way it is.
we include that. I do have some, as Heather said, U.S. News and World Report came out today, so very little analysis on here. For New York State, we moved from 39 to 33. National ranking, we moved from 283 to 250, and Long Island from 7 to 6 from last year. I do want to note that if you look at the top 7 schools, it's 0.8% out of 100 separates 7 to number 1. it's a very tight margin here. So we want to look to dive deep into see what we continue to do to improve our ranking, what all the criteria, and we have to look, again, the data just came out today. We don't have enough information. Looking at the data, we saw increases in all the areas that are listed that they use for ranking. Percentage of students who took at least one AP exam, percentage of students who passed at least one AP exam, math proficiency, reading proficiency, and science proficiency, we all increased. I guess we didn't increase on one because we're already at 100%. That was our graduation rate. So it's definitely in the right direction, but do remember this data is 3 years old. The U.S. News and World Report is dated information. We saw our AP scores had a very nice spike this year. Again, we're looking for more data as it comes from the College Board. So I see down the road even greater increases coming on this. So I see we're working in that direction. Even when we reach number one, that doesn't mean we stop. We always look for improvements to how we could help our students become better at what they do. So this is a goal that never falls off to making sure that we're teaching to mastery and our students are the best they can always be.
So is that, so we're adding that goal, but we're leaving teaching to mastery. And is that the strategy to increase our ranking, is to teach to mastery, or are there other strategies we're going to employ?
Well, teaching to mastery is one of the, mastery scores is part of the ranking
Absolutely.
component. Making sure our students have the best educational experience is teaching to mastery. So it's only going to help us not only in ranking, but giving this, it helps with the first goal, strengthening our process and getting kids going to the right fits for school, the best schools they go to.
I think it should be the first goal, teaching to mastery.
We can move it up to be number
We
one.
may want
Because
to
I think
change the order
it
at the end.
encompasses all of the students, not, some of these are
Exactly.
specific to
Kindergartners
specific
at first
levels.
graders, which, I mean, setting the proper foundation for a student's love of learning is so important. And it happens here in Goose Hill. You're correct, Lisa.
So what does teaching to mastery look like on, I know that's used for some of the standard tests like Regents and AP.
So if you look at it just as a number on a Regents score, it's scoring an 85 or higher.
Okay.
We always look at the students, the number of students who scored an 84 or an 83. Like if they got one more multiple choice question correct, our numbers would have jumped up. And it's still, I mean, if you score an 84, that means 16% of the stuff you did not know. It's in the classroom looking at our assessments and seeing how students performed. And again, say an average is 85. Well, there's still 15% of stuff that we need to educate our students on to make sure they understand that as best as possible. So it's continually going back and looking to see how we make sure students have that knowledge, and not just a memorization of knowledge, but how to interpret data, how to take information and make decisions about it, and how to use the data, and how to become a better learning student, not just here in Cold Spring Harbor, but throughout their career in college and beyond.
And also more support, right, for the exams themselves. So if we're going to target increasing district ranking, I think a good idea would be to look at the components that comprise the district ranking and then see if we're targeting those areas, how are we going to increase? And I actually don't know what the different components are. I know one, of course, are scores. So that we're addressing through teaching to mastery. But what are the other components? Some we may not have control of, some we may. And if we do, we should probably, again, like we're going to do with the college, have metrics of are we targeting them and what are we doing specifically?
And I think that's very good here, Mark, that you say that is U.S. News and World Report the metric we're using for ranking? There's lots of different things that we could use for ranking. With that said, there are changes coming down the road with respect to Regents exams. New York State is looking to not require the Regents exams that students take now as a requirement for graduation. They're looking just right now for the 3 federal exams, one in English, one in math, one in science. That will be all that's required. There will be other ways for students across the state to demonstrate their knowledge in a course. So it's going to become trickier, not just for us, but also for the U.S. News and World Report to continue with the methodology they use now, because there could technically be a school that doesn't offer, say, the U.S. Regents. They just have some other methodology they're going to use, and I don't know how U.S. News is going to do that. It's just coming out, so it's going to be challenging when that comes out, and if it stays in the state that it's in. The feds may change what's required. The state may change what's required. So right now, to say definitively 3 years from now what it's going to look like, I can't say, because a lot's going to change. But beyond that, it's more than just a test, an
Right.
AP exam or Regents exam. It's when our students leave here, they have the knowledge that's necessary for them to do what they need to do in whatever field they choose as their career.
Ms. Libertini, what's the gold standard for looking at school rankings? Do you have an idea for that, or?
Well, I mean, I think you're always looking at a total number of course offerings, right, and the quality of the, the course level that the students have access to, and their overall performance in those upper level courses, right? That's like one of the number one things that they look at. I think you're limited in some areas, right, because they're always looking at the level of diversity in a district, and this district, right, is limited in that area, so we'll never really
Bless you.
be, right, some of our neighboring districts in that, when we're competing for that 1%, we're not going to make
Bless you.
that, right, because that's where the constraint is. We don't have that. I think you're always looking now, especially as we're seeing changes to the standards and moving towards new testing. I think there's going to be concerns as we compare year over year. It'll be very difficult to do that, and I think the rankings are going to have difficulty comparing because you have these new assessments, you have performance that is all over the place, if you look across New York State, even the most recent, Regents exams, and it's going to be more and more difficult for them to use just state test scores, even 3 through 8, as an indicator. So I think those are some of the concerns that we have as we move forward.
But is U.S. News considered, like everyone goes to see where, is that the report?
It is one of the reports that,
Okay.
that they look at. It's not the only report, and I think that also comes down to what are our values here as you set these goals. What are we married to here? What do we stand for here? And if we're looking at this district as priding itself in having, students with diverse sets of experiences, not necessarily just academics, this district, right, may look very different than a neighboring district where it's strictly academic and there's very little in terms of, clubs and organizations. So that's something that we always want to make sure that we have a firm pulse on. Where do we stand in terms of our vision for the district, and then making sure that we're using our correct metric to measure our students' level of achievement.
We want to look at what the portrait of a Cold Spring Harbor graduate looks like, and as Ms. Libatini said correctly, you need to take into account what other schools have and don't have. There's no doubt a very large school district will have some courses that we may not be able to offer simply because they have the student population. But we may be able to go into more depth because we have smaller class sizes. Talking about the U.S. News and World Report, the number one on Long Island had a 99.4 out of 100. We were 98.6.
So that's.
And 6 schools fell in between there. That's how tight we are. And I'm not saying that's not an excuse, I'm saying small increments could really move us up to 5 or 6, or even drop us down 1. We may go up, but go up in our percentages and go down in ranking, because just as Ms. Libatini, one of the things is who the students are.
I believe that in the face of these changes that you're talking about with the state and stuff, it becomes really important for us, it's my belief, that we really focus on the rigor that we're offering all our students at every level, because in the face of this, we really want to maintain that Cold Spring Harbor education that I feel I got when I was a student here years ago. And I think our kids and our teachers are up to the task to do that. I mean, we've seen a change, an improvement, and it's just these little changes, a tweak to the curriculum, different textbook, putting things at a different time in the timeline, whatever those little changes are, we can really affect our ranking, but also the school experience and keep it the way it's been.
Absolutely.
Make it better.
So rigor is so important, and if we're trying to create well-rounded students, we actually shouldn't be as concerned about our ranking, because if demographics is a factor, we're never going to score there. So to try to chase a school rank at the expense of not going after a focus on rigor maybe is the better goal than school rank, and maybe student participation in club sports as well as academics. Maybe that should be more of the goal than a number we can't or the arts as well. That's an aspiration we should have. Number of students that are cross-pollinating versus getting fixated on a number that we're gonna potentially get lost in. But we're still doing a great job for our students, so that's important to, and rigor is very important.
And it's like what you said for the prior goal, you really need to set, standards. What are we going to measure that with? And academics, I mean, test scores are pretty much the only standard way we have of comparing and measuring that. So it's like a hard measurement. So I'd just be careful if we're going outside of that, and I think it's worth looking at, that we also have hard measurements for that it's not just a soft.
Yeah, I don't know that one is exclusive of the other, and I think teach to mastery is that rigor also, right, sort of across the board, and I think that improving our ranking when it is just, those little knobs, I think the point is that if we can get up some of the knobs, then we may be able to overcome the one that we can't. Right?
Yes,
I don't
agree.
like the idea, though, of limiting what classes the kids can take. I think we really need to, when we look at class size, we talk about this too. How can we make it so that the kids are really getting everything, and the teachers have enough time to get to each of the kids in the class so they can get that rigor to get to the mastery, which then can turn into an improved score.
And the
right?
classes that we're offering, right, that also goes into that ranking consideration, right? Because if we're offering more, we have more kids taking APs, so it's a balance of all those
Our
factors,
kids
right?
can take a remarkable number of advanced classes in the high school. I mean, it is such an incredible program. Thank you all so much. And it's what our kids can take, and the support that they get already from their teachers is incredible. And I think what we do here is just try to make it so that it's even easier for the teachers to keep doing that good work, right?
It's evident the support by making sure elementary
Not that
class
it's easy,
sizes.
but you know what
Our elementary class sizes are under 20. We added resources to reduce class sizes at the secondary level. Dan, correct me, is it 4 or 5 AP courses in physics, right? 4 or 5 physics courses we offer? 5. So when we had the AP Collegial Circle, I think every school was amazed that a school our size offers 5 levels of physics. Syosset, other schools in the area, I don't want to mention schools, but they said, we don't offer that, and we're 4 times the size. So it's just remarkable that we do that. That doesn't mean we're great. That just means that we give a great opportunities. Our staff do a great job in educating our students. It's about opportunities. Mike walked out. I was disappointed when we talked about athletics. I don't think there's a school district that has as much participation in athletics as we do here in Cold Spring Harbor. If it is, it's that school that has 20 kids and everybody's on the team. That's it. It's quite remarkable.
And I think in the same vein, when you're talking about rigor, right, as New York State starts to shift what the graduation requirements are and the pathways, it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to abandon some of those metrics that you want to maintain in terms of measuring growth, right? And that may also distinguish us from being very different, right, than neighboring districts, and then actually increasing our ranking overall. We don't know what those, how those are going to shift in terms of evaluation of districts, but I don't think that just because New York State says you don't need to offer this course for a graduation requirement, it doesn't mean that we need to do the bare minimum. And districts like ours are going to be able to make choices in terms of what we think is best, in terms of level of rigor that we encourage and create pathways for our students.
And the portrait of a graduate can be the portrait of graduate at
Portrait of a
your-
Cold Spring Harbor
Your
graduate,
school.
correct. Yeah.
So we talk about increasing rigor a lot. How is that done? What do we, when I say, okay, let's increase rigor, then what happens?
Well, I mean, I think there's a wealth of ways where we're addressing rigor, and in terms of, from a K to 12 perspective, we're looking at establishing deep critical thinking skills. We're looking at data analysis at the younger levels. We're looking at conversations and dialogue and discourse, right? That happens across all content areas. We're asking students to take skills that normally would be discrete skills and apply them now into a larger problem-solving environment. And those are rigorous tasks, right, that are higher order thinking, that basically provide our students with, career readiness skills.
So we're
I think that would
changing
be really
curriculum, we're asking the teachers to change the way they're teaching, like,
We're shifting modes of ways that we teach. We're shifting the way that that students are facing problems in class. It becomes more student-driven and less teacher-driven. I think you're asking students to embrace the power of struggle in a classroom, which historically we haven't always seen, over time. So some of those things are going to shift and change. Absolutely.
so I like everything you said, so where's the action plan then? How do we institute that?
I just got here, so.
No, not for you. I
It's day
appreciate
12.
that. Good answer. Not for you, but from us, like, what do we need to,
Well,
if anything?
I was going to ask about benchmark exams. In the past, we've discussed having benchmark exams at all grade levels. We've talked about horizontal and vertical alignments among the schools. Could that be applied to assist us in this goal of rigor?
Sure. I mean, I think we're applying benchmarks, believe it or not, from early on. From K, we apply STAR and in-house benchmarks, district-wide benchmarks to measure growth over time. We can continue to do that. We can examine what's we talked about examining gaps in WASA reports from the 3 through 8 assessments, identifying where there may be a skill deficit. We're embracing supporting learners that may be ranked at a level 2 and a level 3. We're integrating co-teach model in the elementary schools to increase skills, to build capacity as they move forward, and increase overall achievement. So I think we're doing a lot of those things, but we can continue to do that, and we can dive deeper and work with teachers and staff to make sure that that's well communicated, and that happens through our group articulation meetings. It happens with vertical alignment meetings. It happens with building, two buildings coming together to analyze data to see whether or not there's differences across the district, on two sides of town of the district, and then providing ample professional development to meet whatever it is that our needs are.
And Kim, that's right. Those are foundation and fundamental skills that start in kindergarten and travel up with our students that for some will take years to pay off because they're so young, but they're learning those skills to how to think and how to solve problems. For instance, our research program has really expanded. That doesn't per se come in part of the U.S. News and World Report rank because it's not an AP exam, but it's giving their students the skills to independently to do research, to independently to work with each other, to come up with plans, to look at what they love to learn and making them better. So it may not be that direct, but it has that focus and the multiplier effect to making our kids wanting to learn and do better. So, I mean, and we've done it. We've been doing it for years. We're continuing to improve and move our students up. So it's exciting.
So could we step back for a second, because I think we went full circle. So we started by saying teaching to mastery, and then we said, wait, what happened to the goal from last year? Ranking. But then we said ranking may deteriorate because the standards are changing. Certainly in New York State, we don't want that, but New York may push that. So I don't know where that left us. What I heard is, I think we're trying to prepare our students to achieve their full potential, right? But I don't know, that's not a great goal because there's nothing to measure.
Right.
So do you want the two goals to keep the two goals, maybe
No, I
reword them? You
think I'm
want one
hearing
goal?
us creating a new goal out of those two.
Because I thought I thought each of us wanted the two. I thought Lisa said you thought we should have two goals, and
No, I agree,
You
but I
guys
don't know,
do.
I think we said
No.
that, but then we're
we
saying.
changed our minds.
I didn't change my mind, I don't think, on the ranking one. I think Mark had changed his mind, but I don't think I
I
changed
haven't
my mind
either.
on the ranking. Did you
Have
change your
you?
mind on the
No,
ranking
I
one?
think that should
No.
remain a goal.
I agree.
It should always remain a goal.
I agree. Because we're gonna do the
Striving
best,
to increase and do
right,
better.
little tweaks. But I do really like including this as a additional goal. We can rework it maybe and make it stronger. I mean, it's simple, or maybe it's good
Well,
in its simplicity, but
Let me ask a question. Is the ranking our goal, or is the ranking the measurement of a goal? To me, the goal is get everything we can, get our students prepared the best they can, and you measure that by how well
well, I think that's.
we're being ranked, how
to
well
me, it's
people are doing.
Except for the
Separate
ranking
goals.
doesn't always take into account everything.
Everything.
And that's part of it, right? It is a separate, looking at the ranking is a separate metric. And I think what's important, obviously, number one for us is the students and the education that they're getting, but also as fiduciaries to the community, right? People's home values are tied into our school rankings. There's plenty of people in this community who pay taxes that support the work that happens in these districts, who don't send their children to the schools or whose children are out of the schools. So I do think, regardless of how we feel about the ranking, it is somewhat our responsibility to keep an eye on that too in any way that we can, as long as it's also benefiting the kids, right?
I
So-
completely agree.
Well, I'm supportive of that. I just don't, I'm confused about where we're heading in the future.
I think nothing we do today will impact the next two rankings. That data's been taken.
Right.
And it's done. So that's one thing we have to, that data
Right,
on
this is-
the scores, it'll be 3 years out. Anything we do today to change and educate our students is gonna have that impact.
But they're gonna rank us on something, so at that point, I
And
think
we
we
don't
should
know what
still
that-
be
right. I think with
looking
those things, we
at
don't know
what
what
that
ranking will
is.
be.
At that point, it'll still be a goal. We'll just have different ways of meeting
Right.
that goal but I think it's a separate issue, this teaching to mastery. It's a student-focused issue, and I think it's worth focusing on that point too.
I think when you look at what the ranking includes, things like math proficiency, reading proficiency, science proficiency, taking exams, those are all good. So what is used in the ranking are good things that we want to achieve and push our students to do. So that's not bad. I think the question is, it may not be U.S. News and World Report, it may be something else, or it's gonna have some metrics that we don't even know what they are yet. It could be square footage of, we don't know. There's going to be changes.
I think it's dangerous anytime that you're looking at a metric that it has a delay, right? So if this is
Oh, yeah.
this yearly goal,
Yeah.
right, and the metric, right, and the metric is going to be
Right.
data that was collected 3 years ago, how are you evaluating whether or not you've reached this goal this
Yes.
year at this time?
You can't, yeah.
You
I was
can't.
disappointed and surprised to hear it's 3-year-old data, so, and I'm glad to hear I'm opposed to ranking, that's news to me, but the thing is, I said we need to break down the components of what constitutes the rank and then target them, but at the same time, let's not get overly fixated on the rank, because we will not always score as well as the job we're doing with our students, and that was the underlying point. Yes, we have to care about our ranking for exactly the reasons Alex said. This colleges probably look at them, but people move here based on the ranking of the community. But we also want to make sure that we have an idea of what a Cold Spring Harbor student is, and we often talk about the diversity of the character of the kids, academic, arts, sports, the volunteerism, that's the aspiration. That won't get picked up in the ranking, but we can know they left here in great shape for the next part of their life.
I think there will be some students who don't take any AP exams. We want to make sure that we're giving them the best education and the right education for them to leave Cold Spring Harbor. There'll be some students who may not go to college, and that's the right move for
Right.
them because of the opportunities they have, what they want to do, and the like. And we want to make sure that we're giving those students the right opportunities, which don't come up in that ranking. It may actually hurt us doing the right thing by a student may hurt our ranking technically, but it was the right thing to do by that. And for us being such a small school district, each student is almost 1%. I mean, that's what we're talking about. So it has large impacts. It's a challenge. And again, when I say
Joe,
the
I
different.
completely agree.
Yeah.
A high school student who takes AP classes that they shouldn't take because they're not scoring well is way more damaging to their next step than taking classes they're equipped for, in my personal view. Like, taking a class you're equipped for and doing well and succeeding in it, you're gonna get farther.
Right.
But I'm also hearing, like, no ranking, like ranking is outdated because it's old, it's lagging. But the scores, which we do know sort of on a real time, not real time, but we know them a few months after the assessments, right? You have the 3 to 8 assessments, you have Regents, you have AP. All of those could be used as metrics.
Right. And everything, the 3 to 8, we have to be a little careful on. There are plenty of districts where 50% of the kids don't take the test, 60% don't take the test. So it almost means, I remember I did a little Excel magic and was able to pull the stuff out of the Newsday and send it to colleagues, and half of them said, 75% of my kids don't take the test. I don't care about this. It means nothing to us because so few kids are taking it. So it's tricky, and I think it goes back to what is the portrait of a Cold Spring Harbor student? Not that ranking and not that scores aren't important. We want to make sure this is tough.
Yeah.
We're in a good, tough place.
That's why I raised this.
Yeah.
I keep going back to
Yeah.
it's not the ranking.
Yeah.
But
So
I think people think it is
What
the
are we going to
ranking.
put down? Let's sum it up.
I think we think it's both.
That's
Is
right.
They're
Right.
separate, different items, goals.
Even
So
if
that's why they
there's
canly be
interplay,
combined
right,
necessarily.
even if there's interplay, there's still 2 separate goals.
Right.
And I think the ranking is just more of a long-term plan to always be improving, doing what we can. I don't know if that can really be measured year by year, especially because the data is, 3 years old. But we should always be striving
Yes.
to increase.
But we could look at the components, like the AP scores that we
And I think
received from
that's
last
the
year
one
now.
thing that we really have a lot of metrics for.
We have a
We
lot.
absolutely can measure that
That's
one
true.
year over
Right.
year.
That's right.
We have the Regents, right, Regents is just New York State.
And we can look back. You get the bar, right?
Bars for Regents.
Bars.
Bars.
And you can look back at it, right? Like, and see
yes, you
where
can.
improvements should be made. And of course, then tests change and things happen, and we know that. But this is the work that's being done and will continue to be done by our teachers
right.
to keep trying to get the kids to get top scores on these tests. And as much as you'd like to say, oh, the Regents don't, I mean, it's for some kids, if you want to go to a SUNY school, the Regents really do matter too, right? Beyond the ranking also, don't they look at that too? Doesn't it also then
It's-
affect
Right now,
the college goal in some ways too? And if you're not doing well in your Regent, you're doing well in your classes, schools might think that there's grade inflation at your school. Like, there's lots of reasons why you want to get those scores up that also directly impact.
Right.
We
And
could talk about this all night.
we can. And right now, the Regent score is required to be on the transcript. The state is changing transcript requirements. We don't know what that means yet. It may mean they're going to be pink, and that's all the changes. I don't think so, but we're not sure where that's coming from. Yes.
Okay.
So I guess the question is, are we including the ranking as a board goal? That's your
Let's
decision.
start with
You
that.
have to.
And what's the whole sentence? It's like increase
Right
ranking
now,
and.
improve Cold Spring Harbor ranking on Long Island and New York State. That was the goal from last year. And we'll be using US News and World Report as the metric.
But that's a 3-year lagging, we can't.
Correct.
We need to use the most recent test scores and compare just we need the factors of X diversity, what those factors are, and we need to look at them, at least for ourselves, on a real-time basis, right?
Right,
From-
and they do yearly give a presentation
Right,
to us
we
about the
do.
AP scores, the region scores, the 3 through
Right.
8, as soon as they come out. So we do have that, so we could have some, if we're looking at the different components of that US News World and Report ranking, we could see how our new scores are playing into that. And if we're
Yes.
seeing an improvement. So we will know, even though it's not public to every, on US News and World Report, we can report to our community the improvements made.
Right, and that's how we'll measure ourselves if we're if we're effectively addressing that goal.
Right, I mean,
Right, well, but I'm sort of with that, but what's improvement? If we do 1% better on mastery on Regents, did we achieve that goal? Or do we do we want a certain percentage of people taking
Well,
Regents
I
to
think
achieve
that
mastery?
doesn't that go to our earlier conversation where our goals are then for the departments to work on and give us a presentation in October with what they think? So their plan
Well-
is for the year.
Not really. It's part of that, but we need, our goal should set a standard, and then how the different buildings and departments implement that and set their own goals is also a thing. I mean, maybe we take their advice about it, but
Yeah, I mean, I think I'd like them to tell me how they think they could achieve it before I tell them how.
yeah, but I'm not talking achieving. I'm not talking the how. I'm talking what is it? What does success look like? Is 50%, whatever, I don't want to use mastery, but is 50%
And I'm saying
great
let
scores
them
on
make the
AP?
recommendation to us for what they think that should look. That's what I think.
You're saying,
I am a voice of one.
Yeah, no, so,
Mark likes to say that, so I'll start.
exactly. Stealing, you're gonna have to pay royalties on that. So, so when, I'm not saying the teacher shouldn't have input, but it's like if you have a sales organization and you let them set their sales goals, that it just never gets done that way. It's always the head of sales says, Region X, this is your sales goal, and they either meet quota or not.
So the department heads, or Kim, who is in the person who's responsible for this?
myself, Kim, building
Right.
administration,
So
building principal.
can't we turn to you, Kim, and building administration to say to us what is a reasonable metric to measure the success of
Or
this
set of metrics.
goal?
Mhm. I'm okay with that.
And something we'll be able to obtain. There are some things I think we're going to strive to work on, maybe challenging to get information from other districts from. I don't know, I don't want to say here it is as we're thinking out loud.
I think you're right. I think that this is not the place to do that. I mean, that's why you're reporting to
That's part of
us,
the report,
you
either
know.
October, November.
It's a good start. Well, yeah, we'll come back and we can adjust as we go. It's the first year, like, once we get the process down of benchmarks, next year, if you keep that goal, you already established what the benchmarks you're looking at, and then it's easy to start to see trend lines too.
Right, but this is the third year we've had the improve ranking goal, so I don't know whether we've succeeded or not over the 3 years.
Because they were always fluffy, all right? Now we're trying to be more
Yeah.
precise.
No.
Well, we clearly have this year, though. I mean, we went from, on Long Island, from 39 to 33.
Is that good?
And not only that, we're seeing
Well, moving up
improvements in some cases and
six-
maybe some areas that we need to work on, whatever the case may be. We're seeing it clearly in these scores that we're getting in.
Yeah,
I mean,
our
if
test
any,
scores also were way up in the
With-
spring.
right,
The
so-
This
Jen
year,
gave a
very high.
presentation, so I
you could see class
take
to
issue
class.
with the goals being called fluffy in the past
They
too.
wouldn't-
I'd just like to put that out
They
there.
If
wouldn't
anything,
pass
this is the
muster
clearest goal of
at a
any
I
goal.
know, I know, in your corporate,
In a corporate
And
world,
co-
they,
corporate-
they,
your
they
corporate
would
consulting
never-
business.
They
Okay,
would never
thank you.
pass muster. They're fluffy.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, it's a fair question. We don't know. I think it's great, 39 to 33. That's
Right,
excellent.
but
We
also
keep
we've been getting
Getting
reports every
reports and
year.
presentations and hundreds of pages of reading every week that show these numbers going up and up and
Right,
up.
and not only that,
so-
it's broken down specifically, so you could see where you've gone up, where you've gone down, where you've stayed the same, and you can make
Right, but
adjustments
what
year
does
to year.
success
And
look
that,
like? What does success look like specifically if we get
well,
those
if you
scores this
improve
coming
What
year?
do
those
you think it
scores, then it
should look
improves the
like?
ranking.
I don't know. That's
Okay,
that's why.
well,
No,
But you're
that's-
only asking everyone else, so what's your thought?
Well, but I'm just pointing out there's a weakness in the goal. It's not. It's
I know,
not
but
well
so how,
crafted.
what's your, so it's, a wonderful thing to point out weaknesses, and we certainly have experts in that. But
Right.
how do
What
you?
does that mean?
What is the solution? Where's your
Well,
solutions
I don't know,
oriented?
I'm not proposing this as the final goal. I'm trying to point out we need to craft the goal better so that.
Right. All I
So
said
that
is it's
there's something
33 good.
measurable.
We went from 39 to 33. Great, we're 33.
So we all
Does
want the
that
same,
mean-
can we back up? We all want the same thing, right? We've had
Yes.
this,
Yeah.
we've had this goal for, will be the third year if we adopt it. We all agree, we're celebrating that the scores are getting better. It shows in the US News ranking. I'm just saying going forward, if we take sort of the idea of these tests continuing, what do we think is success in those results?
Well, maybe continuing to improve. or
Right.
Continuing to increase our ranking.
Right, but he's saying,
You
is
know, we're
it
just-
that we go up 3%, we go up
Well, I think
5%?
going
What
up-
is it year over
Right.
year? And I think that really it varies subject by subject, which is why we need
Right.
Joe and Kim and the building administration to say, in this subject, we really should be targeting a 10% increase because we've looked at the bar report and we can see that we have the capability here. And in this subject, you know what? We're doing a bang-up job. If we get another 1%, that's fantastic. And I don't think that's something that we work out here at 9 o'clock on a Tuesday night when it's really not our place to be saying what those metrics should be. We should turn it over to them now and say, please present us with
That's fine.
Well
specific
said.
metrics.
Okay, that's, we can agree to disagree on that, but
But what is your proposal? There's a disagreement, but no
So-
proposal for, I've got the chair, for, for what the another solution would be. It's certainly not to sit here and tell everyone how to do their,
I have
specifically how
not
to do
told-
their job.
Hold on, I have not told anybody how to do their job.
Right, that's what I'm saying, it's not
I have
specifically.
a voice on the board about what a proper goal should look like, and I'm not gonna back down from that. I
Right,
don't know
I'm
what
asking
the
you to-
answer.
To say what that is, right? It's just
Right,
what it's,
I
you're
didn't say
saying
I
what
know
it's
the
not,
answer,
right?
I'm just saying I'm uncomfortable with the way the goal was crafted, so. But,
Maybe we just need to rework the words. You know, I mean, it would be easier if it wasn't a 3-year lab, right?
yeah. I agree with that, I think looking at current scores
Right,
is.
but it's a 3-year lag, but every year we get reports on the different metrics that make up our ranking, so we get a sense of how we're improving. It's,
So maybe we want to increase
But it's
Our
not just the
s-
scores, it could be how many kids are enrolled in APs, and
Right.
it's the mastery rate, you know?
right.
So there's,
and we
of
get all of those
factors, and we-
facts,
and we
though,
get those
every year, and
facts.
Saying-
we get the year-over-year data on that. We get
Right.
really detailed
But
data
that's-
from these people out here that we sit and
Right.
listen to every year, and we ask thoughtful questions.
So, you know, so maybe it's the scores we want to be continuing to improve. Or
I don't
not,
think
not
it's
just the
just
scores, but all the
scores.
things
Okay.
that make
Right.
All
up
of-
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
think what I heard,
the ranking.
right, Alex suggested
Yeah.
we get recommendations on what improvement looks like across, I guess, 3 to 8 assessments, region scores, APs, AP participation, right? I forget what the other categories were.
Yeah,
And
they
then,
should
but I would just say,
continue to
we
do
shouldn't finalize this goal until we have those recommendations.
no, I think we can,
yeah,
because we
I
can continue to
disagree.
do that, because we have been getting those numbers. Like, we already
We
have
don't
the
to
reporting in
accept the
place.
plan for the measurements if we don't think it's sufficient, but I think we should accept the goal and then ask to see a plan.
But the goal doesn't have a measurable result, like a
We're asking the departments to come up with the measurable side of it. Our goals impact the district goals. So then if we set this goal, then Joe and Kim and the building principals can come back to us, and perhaps it's before October, perhaps it's for, I don't know, you tell me, but for the September meeting, to say, here's how we plan to make the measurable part of this goal from these following, in these following areas, and then we say whether or not we think that seems reasonable.
And I'm going to throw in something that was probably about a half hour ago. Is it more than just test scores? in what are the portrait of a Cold Spring Harbor graduate is. It's the opportunities, it's the clubs, it's the team building, it's the athletics, it's all those components, which some may be softer to measure or harder to measure. The test score, here's what the average on a Reachings exam was. Here's how many kids took it. Here's what the high, here's low. Those are very easy to do. It's like sales. How much did you sell this month? Very easy to come up with. But there's other components that are more difficult to measure, but are very important in determining who our students are and what they get out of Cold Spring Harbor.
And those components are not ignored at all by the school or by the board. I mean, in fact, we have presentations at the beginning of the year, the end of the year, where, I mean, those things are very much celebrated. I mean, maybe we can't measure them as goals, but we can celebrate them. We celebrate them at every board meeting when we have the students come speak. I think it's just part of what we do here, what you guys do here.
You know, so just like a good example, so one of the components of, you know, the ranking is how many kids take AP classes, right? So earlier in the fall of last year, or whenever we were doing schedules, maybe it was the winter or something, Ms. Alamia sent out an email saying the benefits of AP classes, you know, and honors classes, and, you know, how those would, you know, how they would serve the students better, you know, and maybe, you know, and that was a good way to reach out to the students, you know, who maybe, I'm not sure if I want to take this class, you know, maybe I just want an easy A, or maybe I want to work harder for that A-, or something, you know, and you kind of, you know, put the benefits out there, which I don't think had ever really been done before. So I think like that's, you know, that could be like a plan, you know, like part of a plan, like how are we going to, you know, address each of these?
But I think we have to be careful because we don't want to push everyone to take an AP
Not
exam.
at all,
No,
not at
I
all,
agree,
but,
right.
but, you know, it did, you know, I think maybe it pushed some of those kids who weren't sure, you know, it talked about the benefits. You know, we get so much information about you don't want to overstress your kids. You don't want them to, you know, overtax themselves, but you don't hear, you know, so it was a nice change to get something that said, oh, you know, if your kid can handle it, your kid should do it, you know, because here's all the benefits. So.
Well, it's definitely a balancing act that Kim was gonna work on and all our teachers work on every year and fine tune.
So maybe the goal or a sub-goal, I don't know if the right word is developing the metrics to be used in determining how our students are performing, or something along those lines.
I don't know. I guess I'm still okay with the goal that we
Okay.
had. And then I would like to maybe develop more, talk more about the Teach Mastery goal, and spend more time on that.
Yeah.
Because I think that could be fleshed out, that could touch some areas or touch things in a different way. I'd like to spend more time, like, moving through it and looking to that, but that's just me. I mean, that's how I feel. How do you feel, Mark?
I feel great. I
Good.
think that let's do the goals the way you want. I prefer goals that get tracked. You do you know, if you want to put goals like we did in the past, I'm okay with that too. Good with either way.
I don't know where to go with that.
Yeah, so I think the idea here is that we have goals, and then we're asking the specific departments that the goals relate to do the tracking and reporting back. So it's not that they're not being tracked, it's that we're not the ones doing or specifying the tracking. We're getting the recommendation for the tracking from the departments, and then we'll say, this looks great, or could we see a little more here? Okay, go. And then we're getting reports quarterly. So I don't think it's that there's no tracking, it's just that we're not dictating the tracking because we aren't the people doing this work and the experts in each of these departments.
I think we could keep that goal, but I'm going to add an additional goal, is revamping and re-looking up. So we could keep it as is, improve Cold Spring Harbor ranking on Long Island and New York, but also another goal is really digging deep into other metrics we could use to measure ourselves, in addition to. We know the U.S. News and World Report is going to change or go, something's going to happen, but to really look to see what else we
See,
could
like,
do.
I'm just concerned about that because unlike, well, I am concerned about actually being able to measure this and measure the success. So I'm afraid of getting too much into softer goals like that here. And also, I think this mastery goal and the rigor in the face of what's going on with New York State and the state of the schools right now is so important to every student. And it doesn't matter about improving our ranking. It's about challenging those kids. And it's not like an easy A or automatic A.
No.
It's like they're getting pushed. They're reading more books. They're learning more information. Every kid should be, we should be supporting every kid in that. And I think we're doing that with the ICT classes, and we can do that in other ways. And I don't know. I just
I
get
agree. I would like
nervous.
to leave it that way. And just, again, to like drive this home, you said before that you wouldn't tell the salespeople what their own goals are, but
No,
these
you do
people,
tell
these
them.
people, you're not asking them to set their own goals. The head of sales, you're not the head of sales. I'm not the head of sales in this
No, we're the
scenario.
board.
These people are the head of sales. So let them do it and then come back to the board.
The board sets goals, and then if they come back to us and say, these goals do not make sense for X, Y, and Z, then we have to adjust our goals. But we're supposed to set the goals, and my understanding is Mr. M and his team are supposed to implement them, right? So,
No, our goals are supposed to help them to set their goals. That's the way board goals work.
so
Yes.
we should then, this shouldn't be board goals, this should be,
Board goals help to direct district goals.
I don't, whatever, it's fine.
Well, that's actually what the purpose of them is.
No, board goals, the purpose is to achieve an outcome. So we are setting goals
No.
to achieve an outcome, and
But if you,
then the
if-
administration goals and the department goals are put in place in more granular ways to
to
achieve
help
the
it,
board
but
goal.
our goals are to help them to set their goals. That's,
Well,
and we're
not-
asking them to come up with the metrics to show us how they're measuring them. I
right,
have to.
But that's, we're not on the same page. Like,
What-
what-
Well, we're
what
just
is
going to have to
a-
agree to disagree, because I don't
No, no,
agree
no,
with you.
I'm sorry, I
honestly,
wasn't
like,
done
if,
talking, so
oh, okay.
What is a good ranking? Is it the top 1%, top 2%? So we're saying improve. When have we achieved it? Is it just go up by one every year? Is there a point where we say we've conquered it because we're now the top 1% in New York State? So that's what's missing. It's okay because it's a long-term project, but our goal is not to have them set goals. Our goal is to have an outcome. We want to be an improving school district that ultimately winds up as the top 2% of schools in New York State. That's a goal.
That's a goal.
See,
So-
you finally came up with a suggestion. That's great.
I'm slow, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Right. Lisa, what do you think?
I think that maybe that's more of like a corporate goal, like maybe how corporate goals work.
Right.
I feel
I don't know, I
like-
think if, correct me if I'm wrong, but if you work in a corporation, I don't think the chairman of your board is telling the sales team exactly what one person's outcome should be. I think their head of their department is reporting back to the board and saying, here is my proposal for our goals to meet the overall company goals. And I think that it's overstepping to say that we're the head of the sales force. That's what I think.
I tend to agree. What do you think, Lisa?
Look, I think that ultimately we want to be the best. We want to be the best that we can be. If that's what gets, I like the idea of setting, saying, okay, we want to increase our ranking. All right, guys, go do it. I like that.
We're hiring amazing
like it too.
people
I
who
mean-
know how to do their job. So let's
Yeah.
Yeah.
let them
So,
do their jobs and not spend so much time hammering each other about whether or not you like the way the metrics are for these goals. Can we go through the goal? I mean, we're never going to get through the rest of the
I
board
see what
meeting
you-
at this
what
point. It's
you
just
see
like
is
a
missing.
gigantic
I get it.
pissing contest.
it's not, it's like, so the board will say, we want to be top 5 in 5 years, then we want to be top 3 in our industry. And then that's what they will set. Do they tell the sales team in the Northeast Territory, you need to have 130 million in sales? No, they don't do that. They have a head of sales who reports in CFO, reports, so.
We have
But I don't think as a school district, you could say we want to be.
I'm just saying, there's the top goals, and then there's,
We're saying,
Yeah.
let us know reasonably what you think those increases
right.
Or
will be.
what are you
It's
going to
like-
do to make us the best? You know, how are you going to,
I thought, yeah, my suggestion was, let them come back with,
That was my suggestion.
okay, then that's your suggestion?
And
So you
said
guys
it wasn't
agree?
measurable.
You agree
You
now?
can go back and listen,
I always do.
so you'll see.
You know that.
Yeah, I know, so you'll see that.
I hear everything.
Okay, so you'll see that I'm saying, we can go back and measure, and then, and that's it. Like, I'm just asking for us to have goals that we can measure, and then if we
I don't
meet
think
them,
anyone's disagreeing with that.
okay, so
But-
let's put them down.
but so maybe we're not the right people to decide how they get measured. You know, like how
Agree
they
with
should
that,
be
but
measured.
we
And
are-
let the.
We
sorry.
should have a benchmark. We should say,
It's the ranking for that one. It's just the ranking, that's
But do we need to
improving.
determine the benchmark, or can the
Yes.
administration, the people that we
no, no,
hire
well,
to determine the benchmark? You know, if we say we want to
I
improve.
don't know what the elements are.
Yeah.
Like, there may be 5 things we can measure, right? I don't know what the right things are, but we should have an idea of what success looks like. You can't just say, we measured something and we have no idea whether that was good or bad.
So, Mr. Taylor, Ms. Libertini, you've worked in other districts. When they set board goals, what does that look like? Kind of share with us, because you've worked in good districts as well as this one, so could you give us an education?
You know, it's the process that you're going through. I tend to agree that the board goals are usually more broad, and then the superintendent, assistant superintendents narrow the focus, and then each building would narrow the focus, and each department would narrow the focus. That's at least been my experience in
Okay,
setting board goals and then implementing them.
My experience has always been that the district settles on a vision of where, like, a framework for what that year is going to encompass, and then the goals themselves stack against whatever that vision might be. There are measurable metrics within, right, those goals in order to reach that vision. So that's been my experience.
What's the difference between the vision and our goal? Like,
I mean, I
in
think-
general, like, what's the
Right, so
difference
you're-
between the
you're-
vision and the goals that we have?
I mean, I think ultimately you have to, in a vision, you would say, you know, we believe that a Cold Spring Harbor graduate should encompass or have the following items when they exit the 4 walls of Cold Spring Harbor. We want them to be civically ready. We want them to be, have multiple APs behind their belt. We want them to participate in outside organizations or clubs and activities. This is what we consider our graduates of success, right? And in order to do that, we're setting certain standards of they should have X amount of experiences in civics or X amount of opportunities to participate in research or present in a public forum, or, there are specific things that you might identify in terms of what it means to be successful based on that vision of what you see key areas that they should
And that
walk
goes
out
back,
with.
one is the portrait of a Cold Spring Harbor graduate. And I'll say, and we agreed to it, like, not every child will graduate with an AP, and it's the right thing for some of those kids. So, and I guess that's the challenge we have, is how do we measure? Like, this year, say we had less kids taking APs, but it was, damn it, the right thing for that class. And we hurt ourselves, but it was the right thing. We had 4 less kids taking APs, but it was the right thing to do. We went down, it hurt us a little bit, but we're looking out for our kids. Joseph?
I just wanted to.
Joe's had more experience, so let's.
Yeah, no, it's a great point. I want to remind everybody that when we compare one cohort to another, it's a different group of kids. So the fact that we had 4 less kids taking AP exams last year does not mean that that was a failure. It means for that group of kids, that was a success. And if we wanted to focus on increasing the percentage of children who get 5s on AP exams, and we get lucky, and we get a brilliant cohort of kids coming through that were not affected by COVID, right, that were in school all the time, and they have a great year, does that mean that the following year, when we drop, we're not successful? I'm concerned that we're trying to measure things that are immeasurable in some ways. And I think that that's why when you set this broad vision, as Kim very aptly describes, and forgive me for talking about instruction, but when you talk about a broad vision that Kim describes, you should leave it up to us to translate that vision into these are the goals that we're setting, here's the activities that we're going to do to reach those goals, here are the things that you could measure as a board to see whether or not we've met those goals. Leave it up to us. That's why you pay us the big bucks, guys.
And I think sometimes, I can remember sitting here talking about a year we didn't have a couple students go to college. And at first it was, oh my goodness, and then somebody whispered and they said the name, I go, we understand now. And it ended, because it was the right thing. I can remember being in the room, calling home a student, you scored a 67 on your Regents. The parents were over the moon. That child worked harder than the child who scored 100. And it was just, they were so ecstatic. You know, where, you're going to Disney. I mean, you're going. They were so happy. So, and again, we're a very small school district, and it's not looking to back away. We want the best, but we want the right best for each. And I think we're fortunate we can do it for each child. I think that's important. We can really hone in and look at each child.
That was very helpful insight. So it sounds like be more open-ended in the goals, track what you can track what you can track, have some metrics in there.
Yeah.
Try not to, I mean, you can set, if we want to be, we want to move up our, you can set a ranking, but let's not get overly fixated on that, because there is a 3-year lag. So, you know, there's a balance, it sounds like. And yes, I don't think any of us think we are going to tell the teachers and whatnot, we want these numbers reached, because we don't know the numbers necessarily. But we do need to have within these goals something we can track to make sure we're making progress. And I think that was very helpful that the 3 of you.
Does that make you more comfortable with the way the goal is written when Joe described that to you? How, so we can maybe put a pin in that, one, about the ranking? Because I think what he said pertained to that particular goal.
Yeah,
And
I
a
mean,
lot of other ones too, but.
I mean, yeah, I think that that's one area that it's the big picture. We want to increase our ranking. I don't think we overstep our bounds by saying we want to get our ranking into, you know, the top 25 or something like that. I think that's something a board should do. Should we get into the weeds on some of this stuff? No, but that's pretty top line.
But there's like other stuff, right? Like, are we gonna ask for the top on Long Island? Do we wanna be the top in Suffolk, Nassau, all of New York State? Like, we're gonna list all those in a goal, or can we just leave it the way it is, maybe?
And how was it the way it was?
Improve Cold Spring Harbor's ranking on Long Island in New York
And in New York?
State.
Whatever
From the previous year?
whatever the group
be
is,
Isn't that implied that it's from the previous
But it's
year?
there.
But I think the idea is that, and I literally feel like Groundhog Day saying this again, but then that these wonderful people then say to us, we reasonably think within 3 years, we can be 25 in New York State. We reasonably think within 3 years, we can be number 3 on Long Island. Like, that's, let's ask them to make the recommendation to us. That's,
And then do we adopt that?
That's what I agree with that.
Yeah.
that's what I keep saying. So
I
I'm-
agree with it.
okay.
The only caveat I had was I think we need to buy into it after it's recommended, that's
Yeah,
all.
so they'll make a
That's why I was
recommendation to
saying
us
we
by
should-
September.
It's a continuing discussion. They're checking
And
in
then
at
in
multiple
October, we'll
points.
get presentations, and then in December, we'll get presentations, and then in, I'm not looking at the calendar anymore,
Well,
but whatever.
presentations or reports.
Or
Some of
reports,
this may be
not
reporting.
presentation, reports.
So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Sorry,
we're
I don't want to
not
scare you.
torture
We
them.
don't want, no,
I mean,
don't do
it's
long
9:19 now,
PowerPoint
so,
presentations every 3
No more
months.
than
You have
5
too much
slides.
other things to do. One slide,
75
one.
is the benchmark.
75 is about, no. 74, Joe.
Oh,
So, is there, I mean, can we move on from this one? Bill, are you okay with moving on from this one? All right. All right, phew. All right, 2
Number
down.
3.
Number 3. Teach to,
Well, is it 3 down, really?
well, I'll add that one.
Okay.
We'll add in that one. So now we're going to teach to mastery. Is there something we want to add to this goal? Is it beautiful in its simplicity? What are our thoughts on that?
I like it. I thought that we came up with this goal because we saw it somewhere. It was, you know,
Other schools have
suggested to
done it,
us.
right.
Mhm.
And we thought it would look good here, would fit in well here.
It was student-centered. We thought that was
Right.
really important.
That's right.
Do I
Yep.
dare ask, how are we going to measure if we're teaching to mastery?
Well, I think that we're talking then about benchmarks for exams, right? So where it goes back to how are we scoring on the APs, how are we scoring on the regions? But I don't think that's all of it. I think some of it may be, and this could be something I would like to ask for, is check-ins on the curriculum. Like, what could we be doing better? Could we be offering an AP course earlier? Could we be working towards that AP course maybe over a couple years? Maybe that's a bad idea, maybe that's a good idea. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm just trying to think of different ways, different textbooks, different things. What could we do to enhance our curriculum for our kids to improve that?
And teaching to mastery is going to be starting in kindergarten. So it won't be a AP score. An AP score is really at the end. It is what are we doing every day to make sure we're dipstick testing, seeing where each child is performing, where they're succeeding at, where they're not succeeding at, and where they're having struggles with. How do we better teach them? Sometimes it's simply a vocabulary change. It could be a concept change. Understanding why a student doesn't understand a concept. All those are part is really digging deep and doing what teachers do every day, is finding where they could better instruct students for students to learn more. It's just continuing to do what they do, but doing just more and more of it.
Yep.
It sounds soft, I understand. It's
No,
not a
no.
No,
number.
I think you
That's
can,
But that's what you
I think
do.
you can
But
report on it.
this isn't a number, so then we would change behavior and actions of faculty if that's the.
It may be for some, yeah.
That's the metric, is what are we doing differently? Because you might hear back, we teach to mastery already, and we're having a goal, teach to mastery, so what are we asking to be done differently?
I think we need to look at what all our staff are doing to see what we do need to change.
So again, that would be great in November if we hear about what changes we're gonna see. And again, that brings the goal, to more of an action versus a phrase.
Yep, I agree.
Okay.
Lisa? You said
Yes.
yes already. So Bill, you're the last one. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that piece is missing, but we can wait and see what comes back, so. Because I agree with Mark, every teacher is going to say, I already teach to mastery.
Well, there are ways to measure mastery with the AP scores in the regions. I mean, we get reports back on them, right? So there is a measurement of those. It's not totally a soft goal.
Right, but what's the
But
level,
yeah,
right?
Kim, why don't you let Kim weigh in?
There's more than just the final terminal AP and Regents exam.
exam, and I understand why that tends to be the metric that we all lean into. But, there are, norm reference data points that we collect throughout the year through STAR. There are through iExcel, right, where we're measuring ourselves against, the national norms. There are criterion reference data points that we're using through unit exams that are happening across content area. There are, benchmark assessments that we use that were
And
generated
you're keeping this
district-wide.
data already,
All of
right?
this
It's
data
already being
exists.
kept.
This
So
is being
it's
done
then
K to
Kim
12.
directing teachers and building principals, directing teachers, saying, here's where we are. We want to figure out a way to bump up all the kids, right? And they figure out reasonably, Ms. Cosme says reasonably in Goose Hill, in kindergarten, I think reading scores should go up this much, or, reading levels should go up this much by the end of the year for a certain percentage of the class. She can give the recommendation for that.
Yeah, and we're also
Yes.
following cohorts, right? So we're identifying where there might be a gap in a skill set, where as they're moving forward and through the next year, we're identifying what that gap is, and we can assess whether or not that gap has been attained, that has been filled. So, that's definitely measurable.
It's great.
And that's part of the process, is part of that testing throughout the year is to find where gaps are, students who have gaps. So I don't expect on day one, everyone to be, if everyone's scoring 100 on a Regents, the test is too easy, or the subject is we're not doing the right thing. You need to have some sort of a curve here. So it's always looking to see, and quite honestly, the 3 through 8 assessments were originally designed to be just that, to make sure you find gaps earlier on. So when students do take Regents as an AP, you could identify them in 3rd and 4th and 5th grade so they can graduate.
Right, so teaching to mastery is also, do we have level 1s that we're trying to move to level 2s?
Right, it's
Do we have
different for
level
each
2s to
kid.
move it- to
Every
move to
kid.
level
Yeah.
3s? That's measurable, right? We can identify that student that scored, at the end before they left for the summer, and they were a level 2, and now they're returning, and mid-fall in the assessment, we're seeing that they're now a level 3. Like, that's measurable,
Excellent.
right?
I also think this goal encompasses the other aspects of Cold Spring Harbor. As a coach, I'm a teacher. As a club advisor, I'm a teacher. So it's not just what's happening in the classroom all the time. It's encompassing all of the things that we feel are important for our students here in Cold Spring Harbor.
Very much so. Thank you.
Yeah,
Absolutely, thank you.
great. All right, so can we put a pin in that one and leave it as Teach to Mastery? And move on to improve the transparency and predictability of the budget process.
Could we look at that ranking goal?
I think you've already got this one in the
Covered.
bag, Joe. Joe D.
We're working on it now.
Everyone's
I
named
gotta-
Joe now.
I got to tell you that I'm very
Right.
impressed with the receptiveness of your administrative team to the things that we're trying to do. You're going to see a very big difference in the budget process. You're going to see it in terms of the information that you get, in terms of what's posted on your website. You may want to survey the community through Parent Square to see what they think about the budget process now and what they think about the budget process at the end of the year. That would be measurable, right? To see whether or not their perceptions change. You might want to survey your administrators to see how predictable they think the budget is now and how predictable they think it is at the end of the year. So those might be things that we would recommend to you as ways to measure how we're making progress on these goals.
That's great.
So along with providing additional data, we added additional dates dedicated solely to the budget process, starting earlier. So it's not midnight when we're talking budgetary stuff. It's closer to ending at 9 o'clock, starting at 6, having dedicated days just for specific budgets. For those of you who have been here in the past, things we've done in the past, going back to be much more transparent.
That's great, thank you.
I'll stop talking.
Have anything to add, anyone else? Or can we move on from that one?
Let's keep going, Heather.
Implement year-end review of the Board of Education goal
Oh,
achievement.
wait,
Oh, I
implement-
skipped.
Yeah.
Oh, I got excited.
You let Brian
All right.
Taylor off the hook.
Sorry. All right, we're coming for you.
You should go back to the budget.
You notice he didn't stop you.
He didn't, and I noticed that. Establish and implement a strategic hiring and retention plan for all staff. Want to say a little
Yes.
something?
Yeah, I
Frank?
think it's about, you know, making the hiring process more predictable, more similar across all types of hiring, instructional, non-instructional. What are we doing to recruit new employees? What are we doing to onboard new employees? What are we doing to then train them so that we're keeping them, you know, for their entire career? It's also about hiring people that want to move up. Like, you want to hire teachers who aspire to be administrators. You want to hire, you know, assistant principals who aspire to be principals, and principals and directors who aspire to be assistant superintendents, and assistant superintendents who aspire to be superintendents. So how are we looking for those types of people and identifying them through our hiring process?
Okay, thank you. Anything to add, Alex? Nothing?
I think
Phil?
that's
Good plan.
excellent.
You're good? Lisa? Mark? All right. I'm good. Implement year-end review of Board of Education goal achievement. I think that's a pretty simple one,
Yeah, I think the idea, right, is.
but
what-
important.
We just had a board retreat, right, where we talked about our goals last year, came up with some framework for this year. So I think in looking at the timeline, it makes sense to say, we'll use that time,
Mm-hmm.
right, to see how the goals went.
Yeah.
So as part of that, then, should we choose one of these timelines that Joe has suggested?
I think so. I think that's a great idea.
So in the packet, there are two, it's a double-sided calendar. One
Yes, Lisa.
in the upper right-hand is option 1, the other is option 2.
Oh, sorry.
No,
I was going to
it's-
say, in my opinion, I mean, I think it should be based upon the end date. One is June 16th and the other is July 14th. I mean, do you think you would have, would we have all of the year-end data by June 16th?
Well, we're
Probably
not, on ranking, we just received the scores, the college, the US News and World Report today.
Right.
So, no. So there may be some other days, some data we may not have. We only received the 3 through 8 a couple of days ago, so we may not have all the data. But it's not just, it's also reporting on how we're doing it and how we're getting there. So, like, we will have data for 3 through 8, but we don't know how the rest of the state did. We don't know how the rest of the schools have done. So we may have done phenomenal, we may not have done phenomenal. We have the scores, we have to wait. So it may be October, may even be November, depending when it comes to us to get that information.
Right.
So,
But wouldn't we have more data on everything in
yes.
July
And
as
that's
opposed to
kind of-
June?
We'll have more in July, absolutely.
If I may, my only concern is, and because I do work in a school also, K-12, and it's like the train's leaving the station now, right? Like, here we go. I do think the earlier we start, the better, just because if we're looking for recommendations for metrics, that way people know what sort of direction they should be going in on the train. And then if they're doing their final report to us June 16th, then our board retreat is late July, early August, then we sit with all that data and if there's additional, like Joe said, the books don't even close on the fiscal year till June 30th. And by our board retreat, you may not even have all the the auditors are still here. There's some information that'll still be coming, but we'll be able to say,
I
this is
I
80%
get it.
of what we wanted, and let's wait for the final report or something. I don't know.
What if we started early?
Yeah.
And then just ended late? What if that final
We could
was
change
later?
to June
I
16th.
mean, this
too.
this
Oh, yeah.
wouldn't have to be set in stone.
No, it doesn't have to be this exactly.
But I do like the idea of having the
The
first one
only other thing
early.
is summer meetings are lightly attended. So if parents are interested, as far as transparency is concerned, it is nice to do a report out at a June meeting.
I just don't want to have it too premature. And we'd be
Yeah,
like, well, we
that
don't have
totally
it,
makes
we're not
sense.
gonna
I will
have it.
tell you that we won't have Regents data because Regents are still going on in that week.
Of
We won't have
course.
the AP data because
Yeah.
the
No,
AP data isn't
no.
released until the first week in July.
Right.
We won't have 3 through 8 data because that's
Right.
not released until August. So all of those elements that you might be using as metrics will not be available to you at that time.
Right, but just, I think just for the sake of trying to get us to our board retreat to talk about how we've done with the previous year, those quarterly reports as far as you've come, right? You won't have some of this, right? You don't have it now. So, I mean, then we'd have to wait till October to review how we did last year, and we'd already be setting goals. So does that make sense?
Yeah,
And
yeah,
like we
it doesn't really, you know,
Right.
I want us to have the most information at the most appropriate time.
Yeah.
Starting early is definitely,
Yeah.
you know,
Right, and there's many components, and like we said, the US News and World Report, there's nothing we're doing today or all this year gonna impact what that number is for next year, a year from now. So, we just pick, when we're, some of it's reporting on what we're doing to achieve the goals, and as I forgot who said before, Joe or someone, it's a cohort. There's a little bit put on the students too, that we don't
Sure.
control. And we discussed how to help that a little bit, on how to make sure students are taking
Right.
testing seriously. I can remember we had, this year, we had one of our seniors, well, they're in college, come back during our, talking to our parents about what they would have done differently in school. And one of the students said, take our exams more seriously, take them more seriously when we're in that room taking them, put a little bit more thought and effort in what we're doing during those 3 hours. That was a quote from one of the students. We have a videotape. She said, sometimes we just, my school didn't take a 5, so it didn't matter. Didn't matter what I scored on the test. I didn't take it seriously. So, we'll talk about it. Those are all
Okay.
things we could help with.
Good.
All right, so which option
Which
then you
option,
think,
1 or
Joe,
2
would get
or-
us there? What do you think?
I understand getting the information back to June. Are we adopting today or adopting on the 9th? That has a little impact upon when the first report out is.
I'd like to adopt today, if we can. Let's try to adopt today.
Yeah, we could adopt today, and then if we go in option 2, the first one would be, that would be October.
But I think if we adopt today, then the understanding is for the 9th, we would have some sort of metrics proposal. Is
Or
that
action-
possible,
or
or
action
is that
plan, maybe?
crazy? Because school is, I mean,
We could have something, that's 14 days from now.
Yeah.
it's
And
so
schools
soon, and
open-
this is like the craziest 2 weeks. I feel like that's not a
Yeah.
fair
That's
ask
true. I
of
agree.
people.
No, to put in.
Right, so for October,
So the first one would be October
October 14th.
14th. Why is 9, so no
You better-
9 on either
No,
one?
9 I thought would have been when we're adopting, that was the
Ah,
adoption.
okay, I was confused, okay.
That went with the Friday notes, it had them all laid out. This was-
Gotcha, so adopt today, then the 14th, then the next time is either December or November. I'd say December, right? Because we just did it in October, so
Right.
wait till December.
no, this is one schedule and this is the other
Oh, yeah,
schedule.
no, I'm
It's
just-
not month by month.
No, I'm just comparing what would happen
Oh,
next. In
okay.
option 2, we would go to October. In option 1, we're going next to November.
Right.
So if we're starting in October, then my suggestion would be, maybe we should go to December.
No, but it's,
You can't.
each one is its own calendar, so it's like 2 calendar options, calendar 1, calendar 2.
I think,
Right,
but I
you're
like Heather's
suggesting
idea of
moving-
proposing a third.
Moving,
Yeah.
moving some of the dates is what you're
Yeah,
saying.
like to
Okay.
kind of give them every 2 months to get to every, so they're not having to report 1 month later. It doesn't really give enough time. So I'm thinking I think we could all agree, we don't want to rush it to the 9th. So the next chance is the 14th of October. Then I would say
So this,
go to December,
option 2 is
October to December, right?
March, June.
Then March, June. We could add a February one in, no, because that would be,
February has a
Too-
lot of
yeah,
holidays,
it's too
there's a lot of
much.
time
That's
off.
the
okay,
So-
so then just do 2 then.
Would
I
adopt
think.
Option 2?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Okay,
okay, so
Okay.
there we go.
done.
And then the other thing I wanted to do is to go back to what Lisa was talking about at the beginning of the meeting, which is to potentially reorder what we're putting as our top goal. And I would like to go from what we think is most important, what we really need to focus on, and I think that's what we usually do, so. Does anybody have any thoughts or they're happy with how it is?
I think Teach to Mastery should be first.
Okay, I agree with that. I would say teach to mastery, then the ranking, then the strengthen the college application, budget and retention. I mean, the budget
like that.
process is important, but I know the other ones are kind of more student-focused. So I was keeping them together. What do you guys think? Or you don't care?
I would just like to, I feel they're all equally important.
That's fair.
And the order shouldn't matter. I don't want anybody
That's fair.
that's
yeah.
working on these goals to think that they're working on something less important. That's my only
Right.
input. I don't
No,
care
that's
what
true.
order
I
they're in.
agree.
Yeah, that's
The
fair.
order shouldn't dictate it.
Okay, do you want to leave the order as it is, or do you want to? I would put the ones that are together, like, that are about similar, like, more student-focused ones together. I just think it looks better.
Teach to Mastery at the top. They don't have to be numbered,
No,
No.
but I think if somebody was going to look at our goals, the top one.
Because it
strengthen the
touches
college
more, it touches
application.
more areas, maybe,
Yeah,
more
I-
students.
It is very much overarching.
Yeah, I think that it's the main goal of, in my opinion.
So it would say teach to mastery. The one that we didn't have a space because we kind of
Yeah.
edited was improve the ranking. That, is it under mastery or strengthening college? The rest or administrative really?
I mean, I'm fine either way. I think, I agree with
Okay.
Lisa, I like mastery first. Aesthetically, I like it too, but, and then I would put the other two. I'm not held to anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
What
I'll do
about?
improve ranking 2 and 3 would be strengthen college.
Did
Okay.
you want to give a hat tip to rigor, increase mastery and rigor?
I like I like a hat tip to rigor. I think it's important, especially when we're talking about some of the things that were mentioned later on, especially with our younger students, right? Challenging them at that younger age and forcing them to push themselves to be the best that they can be. I think it's
I think
Good thing.
teaching to mastery includes
I
it.
agree.
It really does include rigor.
Huh.
It
I
definitely
think that's
does.
fair.
It
Yeah.
requires rigor.
Requires.
Right, to reach
It
mastery.
absolutely does.
True. You okay with that, Mark?
Yeah. I
That's
just
fair.
know that's a word that you're.
I love,
near
yeah.
and dear.
I
You
do,
do.
I
So
appreciate
thought
that,
maybe
thanks.
you want to drop it in.
I know the rigor will come in the reporting. All right, so are we good with this? Can we move on, dare I say?
We need
Yes.
to adopt.
Is there anyone else who wants to say anything before we adopt it? I'm afraid to even ask that, but is there anything else anyone wants to add or say before we move to, well, we'll adopt it later? Nope, all righty. Moving along. So now I open the floor to any other discussion items from members. No, I don't. I'm
Do
not
we do
doing that.
committee report?
No, oh, I was told to do that after.
Okay, fine, that's fine.
All right. Open the floor to discuss other discussion items
Oh,
from
sorry.
members of the Board of Education. No worries. Anyone have anything else to discuss? Nope. Okay. All right. Now we move to committee reports and the work that has occurred since our last board meeting. And I am told audit and food and nutrition both have met since our last meeting. So someone like to speak on audit?
Nobody's here.
Nobody's here. All right.
So,
So we'll
I didn't
keep
make
that
the
to the,
meeting,
Right.
we'll
so-
keep that to
And it was
the
Kate.
next.
It was Kate
We'll keep
and
that
Bruce.
for the next
And Bruce,
meeting
right.
for them to
Kate and
report.
Bruce.
Kate and Bruce will
Were
vote.
there,
All
that's
right,
right.
right on. So then, food and nutrition is, Alex
I
is
was
here?
at food and nutrition. It was, we met with, it was building principals, Jerry Tiger. Wait, did she just get married or is it coming?
I don't think she got married. She did get married.
What's their name?
I don't know if she changed her name. I still call her Miss Tiger. so.
Okay, Jerry Tiger, congratulations on her wedding. We had a great meeting. We talked about a number of different initiatives that she is really taking, moving forward. So looking at low sugar or no sugar drinks.
Drinks.
So 100% juice, if juice is offered, particularly in the elementary schools.
water, not in plastic bottles.
Yes, boxed water.
Boxed water.
We talked about the possibility of different grant programs to look into for
Healthier foods.
the upcoming school year to bring healthier foods into the district. Certainly, there is the lunch program as well, which she is going to send out a thorough communication about to families, explaining how that will work and how the ordering online works in the elementary.
So this year, from
Schools.
New York State, lunch is free for students. Now, there are certain things that qualify, certain things that do not qualify. But the ordering of food is very important. We expect more students to take us up on buying lunch. We have a healthy amount of students purchasing lunch, but obviously we want to have students use the free lunch, but at the same time, we want to make sure we're not wasting food, and on the same time, have enough cooked food. We stress that with our new staff, new parent orientations today, and that will go out in Jerry's email.
Good. Yet there was talk about one of the complaints that parents have, and this was never a problem with my children, but was that there was not enough lunch. The children wanted extra lunch, 2 helpings sometimes, and how could they order
Jerry's
that
been
if you have a 5th grader who's adult size, they might want to eat an adult portion, right?
Jerry
Yeah.
explained how you can order 2. The first one is free, the second one isn't, but you explain how a parent can do that. And also, it's important, if you order lunch and your child does not take it, you're not charged. It's only once they actually go to the cash register are you charged for the food.
But the more parents who pre-order the lunch, the more free time that gives the children, more time for them to eat, and then more time for them to go play.
We're figuring we'll be able to
To-
stack like all the
to know.
pizza kids
It's really
together,
important,
all
yes.
the hamburger kids
So
together.
we spent a
Go
lot of
quicker.
time talking about, and Kate,
minute.
because of her work on the farm and the registers there, had some good suggestions for how to move the lines fast, which was fun to hear.
Barcode on the forehead.
Yes,
the
we're
whole
just
idea.
going to
So we're-
barcode them. It's going to be great. No, but it was like put all the pizza kids here, all the bagel kids there. What was interesting to me about the free lunch was that and this will be communicated as well, I'm sure, that there are different components that you need to have on your tray to make the lunch free. So, for example, don't quote me on this, but it's like if you don't take the apple, then they charge you a la carte for the rest of the meal. So just making sure that the kids are taking what they'll eat, but also if they're hoping to not pay for the lunch, that they understand you're taking this full plate of things, and then otherwise it doesn't
Or doesn't
qualify
qualify for as a free lunch.
for the state. And we're still looking into some things. There's some things the state considers like a healthy snack, like they still consider Funyuns fine. And I love Funyuns. I don't mean to rip on them, but they're not a healthy snack. And sorry, I know. Funyun lovers, we'll have Funyuns.
We removed a lot
Dr.
of the
Barnes,
foods with dyes.
but a lot of the foods with dyes. But I think what the state qualifies as healthy foods and what we consider healthy foods are different things. So it's an ongoing process, but certainly lots of great improvements.
Choices, yeah, improvements, absolutely.
And choices, and Jerry Tiger is amazing, and
So, very happy.
lots of good
Excellent.
communication going out.
Okay, great. All right, so now we continue with our first audience to visitors. The Cold Spring Harbor Board of Education and Administration welcome your attendance at Board of Education meetings. Audience to the public affords residents an opportunity to address the Board of Education on both agenda and non-agenda items. Each resident is allowed to speak for 3 minutes. This is not the forum to discuss student or staff-specific issues. Please contact the district separately on these matters. Sure, just step up to the microphone and your name and address.
My name is Anna Louise Lennican. 2 Camel Hollow Road in Lloyd Harbor. That'd be the address, okay. So I have a little speech here. Good evening, members of the board. My name is Anna Louise Lennican, and I'm here tonight on behalf of my family and neighbors whose properties fall along the boundary line between Huntington and Cold Spring Harbor School District. I want to be very clear at the outset, we are not asking for permission or authorization under New York State Education Law 3203 residents whose properties are intersected by a district boundary have the legal right to designate Cold Spring Harbor as their district of attendance. That right is automatic. It does not require a vote, a board resolution, or special approval. What we are asking for tonight is confirmation that this legal right exists and is respected, and ideally a confirmation in writing, so that when residents choose to exercise this right, the process is smooth, consistent, and does not require unnecessary legal escalation. We currently own 3 properties, my family, that fall within the Cold Spring Harbor School District boundaries. Even though the tax designation has historically been Huntington, we have several government-issued and monitored maps from federal, state, county, and district sources that confirm this. This is not a new or theoretical issue. We've gone down this path before with a prior property at 25 Carnegie Avenue in Cold Spring Harbor. In that case, the district affirmed the residents' right to enroll in Cold Spring Harbor via email. Tonight, I will provide images of that correspondence along with boundary map of 25 Carnegie and the maps of the 3 properties I'm mentioning. Our family has invested millions of dollars in this community. We've paid over $1 million in school taxes and contributed to raising property values in the Titus Lane and Midland area through new builds and renovations. Families like ours want to continue supporting Cold Spring Harbor, but we need clarity and consistency. Right now, we've been given conflicting instructions relating to multiple attorneys and even told falsely that official boundary maps were transportation maps. That is simply untrue. These are district boundary maps confirmed by multiple government sources, and they cut through yards, streets, and neighborhoods. They're not bus route maps. So the choice before the board is straightforward. Confirmation, a smooth process, corrected tax records, and then Cold Spring Harbor receives the full funding it's owed. Or there's the resistance, which is lengthy appeals, possible litigation, unnecessary costs, and a strained relationship with the very families who have invested in and strengthened this community. The law is clear, the maps are clear, the remedy is clear. What remains unclear is whether the district chooses to handle the matter with clarity and good governance, or allow it to become a drawn-out dispute that benefits no one. So tonight, I ask the board to do something very simple and very reasonable. Firstly, we ask that the board provides or facilitates the provision of confirmation in writing that 41 Edcurst Lane, 43 Edcurst Lane, and 70 Woodchuck Hollow Road fall under Education Law 3203, and that the residents have the right to designate Cold Spring Harbor as their district of attendance. Secondly, direct the administration to make that process clear, accessible, and consistent going forward. I mean, I'm pretty sure that everyone does know that there is a lack of houses that are available in the Cold Spring Harbor area. It's a very desirable district. It's not a cheap district necessarily to live in either, but there are new families that really would love to get their children to come and be in the school. And also, school attendance enrollment has dropped by almost 10% in the last 8 years. So, I mean, we have the ability to have these families enroll their children. It would help the school district, truthfully, is what I believe. I went to Cold Spring Harbor. I would love also to have the opportunity to be in a house that I can be in, that my children can be in, and that I can raise them in. So this is the swiftest, fairest, and most cost-effective resolution for the district, for the families, and for the integrity of Cold Spring Harbor itself. Thank you for your time and your service to this community. And I will provide the maps for you, and I can leave them up front if that works.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Joe could reach out to, do you have her information to reach out to her? She could reach out to you if she has any questions.
You can
And
reach
to
out to us
our
with any
attorneys.
questions. We'll look at our attorneys and any maps you have. Thank you very much, Anna.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Does anybody else have anything to speak on? All right. We now will move to approval of the minutes. We're going to start with the July 8th, 2025 organizational minutes. All were present. May I have a first? Alex, a second. Lisa, any questions? All in favor? Okay, the July 8th, 2025 minutes. All were present. May I have a first? Lisa, a second. Bill, any questions? All in favor? Okay. The July 15, 2025 minutes. Alex, Mark, and Bill were absent, so we're going to have to table that. Can I have, right? Yes. So could I have a motion to table those minutes? No? Don't have to table them?
No, we don't have the quorum of those.
That's right.
On that night yet, then you should table.
That's right. All right. So a motion to table the July 15, 2025 minutes because there's not a quorum present. May I have a first? Alex, a second. Mark, any questions? All in favor? Okay, this is another one I believe we're going to have to table. At the July 31st, 2025 minutes, Alex, me, and Bill were absent. So I'm going to make a motion to table the July 31st, 2025 minutes because a quorum is not present. May I have a first? Lisa, may I have a second? Mark, any questions? All in favor? We now move to personnel recommendations of the superintendent. No, well, we will take all resignations and appointments on page 2 to 21 as a slate. May I have a first? Alex, a second? Lisa, any questions? I'll give you a second to get to page 21. You good? All right. All in favor? We will now conduct a public hearing.
Ms. Moranti, can I just acknowledge that
Yes.
Kathy Ball, who is the aide who works in the junior high cafeteria, has submitted her retirement, and we just want to thank her for her many years of service to the Cold Spring Harbor community. Same thing with Christine Riley, who has worked in the writing lab at the high school, also has printed all of the posters for all of our students who participate in science research. She is also retiring on September 5th. I would also like to recognize Carolyn Haas, who will be our new reading teacher this year.
Congratulations. Excited to have you, and congratulations to Ms. Ball and Ms. Riley on their retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They will sorely be missed. I remember Ms. Ball working in the junior high cafeteria when I was in the building as an assistant principal. She was a mother to everyone there. Anna, I don't know, were you there when Ms. Ball? Yes, truly, I don't think you were there when Ms. Ball was there. A mother to everyone, amazing. She will truly be missed, as will Ms. Riley, who's amazing.
Thank you. All right. We will now conduct a public hearing on the district-wide safety plan. Can I have a motion to conduct a public hearing on the district-wide safety plan? First. Mark, a second. Bill, all in favor? Okay. Upon conclusion of the public hearing, the chair will gavel the hearing to a close. No motion required.
So this is something we submit to the state. We had it at our last board meeting. We approved it, put on a website. It is pretty much just data and information, names, phone numbers, email addresses of people who are in charge of certain areas in the building. Nothing that would say secure information is out there. It's really a report back to the state. Rich put it together. Anything you want to share, Rich? I don't think it really is just information to the state that we submit.
Yeah, it's just updating your plan granted by BOCES. They were very happy with this.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Rich.
Am I supposed to use this gavel?
You know, this is your.
This is like my one chance
Just
to
don't hit
use
your
it because you
computer.
guys all behave so well, so. All right. We now move to business recommendations. We will take bid awards, change orders, budget transfers, claims, auditor reports on page 22 to 23 as a slate. May I have a first?
I think
No.
we want to talk about the two bid awards
Yeah,
possibilities
separate.
separately. Can we pull them?
Yeah, you
Okay,
wanna
we can
I'm
post
sorry,
it.
no, I apologize.
Okay, let me see where they are. Pages
Page 22.
22.
Page
Let me
22,
just get
line
there.
13.
Oh, see, there's no pages on this. I have to go old school. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna table,
bottom, the pages on the.
we're gonna table these.
No, this,
No.
we want to talk about these.
I'll talk about these. We're
Thank
gonna
you.
pull these out.
We're going to pull these out, yes.
Okay. So we will take a motion for the bid awards on page 22, section 13. Can I have a motion first? Alex. A second. Bill. Any questions? Table the July 15, 2025 minutes because there's not a quorum present. May I have a first? Alex, a second. Mark, any questions? All in favor? Okay, this is another one I believe we're going to have to table. At the July 31st, 2025 minutes, Alex, me, and Bill were absent. So I'm going to make a motion to table the July 31st, 2025 minutes because a quorum is not present. May I have a first? Lisa, may I have a second? Mark, any questions? All in favor? We now move to personnel recommendations of the superintendent. No, well, we will take all resignations and appointments on page 2 to 21 as a slate. May I have a first? Alex, a second? Lisa, any questions? I'll give you a second to get to page 21. You good? All right. All in favor? We will now conduct a public hearing.
Ms. Moranti, can I just acknowledge that
Yes.
Kathy Ball, who is the aide who works in the junior high cafeteria, has submitted her retirement, and we just want to thank her for her many years of service to the Cold Spring Harbor community. Same thing with Christine Riley, who has worked in the writing lab at the high school, also has printed all of the posters for all of our students who participate in science research. She is also retiring on September 5th. I would also like to recognize Carolyn Haas, who will be our new reading teacher this year.
Congratulations. Excited to have you, and congratulations to Ms. Ball and Ms. Riley on their retirement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They will sorely be missed. I remember Ms. Ball working in the junior high cafeteria when I was in the building as an assistant principal. She was a mother to everyone there. Anna, I don't know, were you there when Ms. Ball? Yes, truly, I don't think you were there when Ms. Ball was there. A mother to everyone, amazing. She will truly be missed, as will Ms. Riley, who's amazing.
Thank you. All right. We will now conduct a public hearing on the district-wide safety plan. Can I have a motion to conduct a public hearing on the district-wide safety plan? First. Mark, a second. Bill, all in favor? Okay. Upon conclusion of the public hearing, the chair will gavel the hearing to a close. No motion required.
So this is something we submit to the state. We had it at our last board meeting, we approved it, put on a website. It is pretty much just data and information, names, phone numbers, email addresses of people who are in charge of certain areas in the building. Nothing that would say secure information is out there. It's really a report back to the state. Rich put it together. Anything you want to share, Rich? I don't think there's, it really is just information to the state that we submit.
Yeah, it's just updating your plan granted by BOCES. They were very happy with this.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Rich.
Am I supposed to use this gavel?
You know, you can, this is your.
This is like my one chance
Just
to
don't hit
use
your
it, because you
computer.
guys all behave so well, so. All right. We now move to business recommendations. We will take bid awards, change orders, budget transfers, claims, auditor reports on page 22 to 23 as a slate. May I have a first?
I think
No.
we want to talk about the two bid awards
Yeah,
possibilities
separate.
separately. Can we pull them?
Yeah, you
Okay,
wanna
we can
I'm sorry,
pull
no,
them.
I apologize.
Okay, let me see where they are. Pages
Page 22.
22.
Page
Let me
22,
just get
item
there.
13.
Oh, see, there's no pages on this. I have to go old school. Okay. Okay. So we're gonna table,
bottom, the page on the.
we're gonna table these.
No, this,
No.
we want to talk about these.
I'll talk about these. We're
Thank
gonna
you.
pull these out.
We're going to pull these out, yes.
Okay. So we will take a motion for the bid awards on page 22, section 13. Can I have a motion first? Alex. A second. Bill. Any questions? All in,
What are we doing?
we're just moving to
I
take
think
them
we're-
out first.
I think
We're
we wanted
actually-
to
we
discuss
We want to
them.
discuss these
Oh,
two.
do you want
We're
to?
recommending to you
Okay.
that you not award, but it's up to you to decide whether you're accepting our recommendation. So,
Right,
Okay.
the first one is work to be done at Lloyd Harbor and West Side. The number came in very high. Again, Joe, 200 and,
$280,000 for work that, when it was bid last spring, was valued at $160,000.
so very high. Obviously, the concern we do have, if they do go down and we can't repair, there will be issues with heat at Lloyd Harbor and West Side in certain sections. So there is somewhat of a gamble, but the prices are astronomical compared to what we originally had bidded out.
So what are we risking if we choose to wait?
The risk is if they do break and they're not repairable, there will be costs associated with providing heat to the building. And depending upon what that breakdown is, it could anywhere be from space heaters to heat trucks coming in to hook up to run heat for the building. And it also depends on how long it would take, or how long it would be down, and what part of the winter it happens. We do know that these parts are estimated to be 20 weeks out from purchase, if we do award the bid, and then installation. If it's done, that's roughly in December. Heat would have to be taken down in the building, so it would have to be done over a vacation. So there's lots of what-ifs that we don't know. If we would look to, we go out to the bid, have this work done at the end of the school year, or the beginning of the summer, where heat isn't required in the building, a longer lead time goes out for a bid now, where the contractors don't have work or very little work on the books, and we think we will get more advantageous pricing.
So the delta is what between the first and the second bid? How much was that?
160 was the original, and Jill, the second was
280.
$120,000
Um,
on a small amount.
And we have
Compare.
2 bids on this one. The second bid was over 300,000.
What exactly are they repairing or replacing?
Anthony Clements is here, so if I say something wrong, Anthony, you'll correct me, right? There are 2, at Lloyd Harbor, there are 2 condensate tanks that collect steam and return it to the boiler in the form of water, so that it could be put back into steam and used to heat the building. Those condensate tanks are very old, they're fragile, they've lasted for a long time, but they should be replaced. At West Side, there's 1 condensate tank. And boiler feed tank, right? Same situation. So, we believe that the reason why the bids came in the way they did was because contractors who are doing this kind of work are now filled up. Their book is filled for the summer, their dance cards are filled, and they just threw a number out there in the hope that we would say, oh, we've got to get this done.
Yeah.
And, they'll work on overtime, they'll work on weekends, they'll charge us premium rates, et cetera. We think that if we went out to bid in the spring or in the winter and did the work in the spring, that we'd get much better pricing, because people will be hungry. They'll be looking for work again.
And then we'll also package it with other work we want to do, like the air conditioning across the district for all the classrooms, some work at the West Side kitchen, so it's economies of scale to have more work done at the same time.
Anthony, have we gotten an indication that these are close to failure or imminently gonna fail?
There's no way to predict that, but we started this process a while ago because we wanted to be ahead of the failure. So we made it through this last heating season, and we seem to be in that situation again. We're doing everything we can to make sure the equipment that supports the heating system is in order.
Do these fail often, these kind of tanks?
Again, we haven't seen that kind of failure, obviously, because we made it through the heating season. But as their life is extended, you run that risk, it goes up, because the equipment is starting to break down more and more. And of course, like I keep saying, there's no way of predicting that. That's why we, again, wanted to be ahead of this, so we're doing everything we can to keep this equipment up and running.
I'm reminded by Mr. Monastero that when he bought his house, the engineer told him that his boiler was about to fail within days.
I
and
still have it.
38 years later,
Wells McLean does a good job. It's still going strong.
My boiler was due to be in the Smithsonian. It was so old that I finally put it in. I finally replaced it. But if they do fail, what fails, and are they repairable?
Anthony, would you like to come up to the microphone? I'm sorry.
I think partly it depends. I'll let Anthony answer. I'm sorry. I said I'll let you answer. I was going to say something.
Well, I'm just gonna say that, again, depending on what the failure is, if the vessel goes and it breaks, and it's broken open, you can't repair that. So with these components, they're big systems, and that's why the lead times are long. But it's not just one item, it is all the supporting items. So we're doing what we can to make sure that our pumps and our other equipment is up and running to support the system. We have fired up the system over at West recently. So again, it's very hard to predict. I don't want to say anything and misspeak on that.
Anthony, do you think when replaced, there would be efficiencies in the system that we use X amount of 100 gallons now per day for oil, let's say, do you think in replacing it comes down to 80 or 70, or it doesn't matter, it's just, it's unit for unit?
There should be, in theory, with equipment that is operating
Okay.
more efficiently. It should lead to savings in other areas.
I have a question. If these are 20 weeks out from being ordered, I'm trying to figure out how contractors would be busy, are they busy 20 weeks out, and how is that going to change if we push it to the spring?
The only thing I can tell you is that when it went from 160 to 280, it wasn't just inflation. It could not have
It was also
possibly
part
been.
of a larger project though now too, right?
Yeah,
And this is
the whole
separate.
project, the whole HVAC contract from April was $402,000, 160 of which were these condensate tanks. It included air conditioning work, duct work to get fresh air into classrooms. There was a whole bunch of stuff. When a contractor comes and he mobilizes and gets his crew in, and does much more work, the mobilization happens once. The insurance certificates happen once, and then he does more work, so it's more cost-effective for him.
Okay.
In this
And
case, he literally threw a number out there in the hope that we would buy it.
And we were hoping that work would have been done over the summer when, you don't have to be quiet. You could be in and out all you want, and, so it puts some constraints on.
And also, the feeling in the industry, too, is we'd get more competition. We'd see more people involved in the bidding, or at least that's the hope. Maybe Mr. Drone wants to...
We had only 2 bids on this particular project. The first bidder was $280,000. The second bidder was $320,000. So we know that we could get better bids. We got better bids the last time we went out, and we think that that's what we should do. That's what our recommendation is. But
No, not right now. But we'll have another audience to visitors later on. So the-
So I think we're talking about spring, right?
yeah, we're talking
'Cause
about, well,
20 weeks from now gets
Yeah.
us to mid-January, roughly.
Yeah, we're talking about maybe a redesign, maybe repackaging the project, maybe going out to bid in December or so with an install date in the spring, allowing for the lead time to purchase the equipment. And if it's part of a larger project, we're hopeful that the bid numbers will be lower.
Anybody have any thoughts?
What is the cost of the risk if something does go wrong? What are we looking at as far as a cost? Like if it's an off chance, are we looking at 100,000? We have no idea how much,
I started to reach out to companies that deal with this, and they're trying to put together some numbers for us so we can at least have an idea of what it would be. It would probably be in the form of a restoration company. People who deal with loss and have to come in on short notice and have access to equipment. There's a lot of companies out there that provide this service, so I reached out to somebody who's done work in the school before to try to find out some more information and give administration a little bit more accurate pricing, or at least a ballpark, so we know what we're dealing with. And also have these people available to know that we might be in that situation.
And it may
we may
take
have a very mild winter again,
Right.
in which case it would be very different than if we have a real cold snap. So,
If you
It
look-
also depends on how fast we can fix it, right? Like, what's the cost of losing a day of instruction or having the kids move to another building and, losing that instruction time? But it's a gamble.
Right, and when it goes down, is it a Friday night?
Right.
Or is it a Monday morning? Is it 60 degrees or is it 20 degrees?
On that
You know,
day.
these are anything with the bill, I mean, as we reminded the people who came to West Side today, General Washington slept there. There are some older components in some of these buildings.
But your recommendation, Joe, is to hold off, is that?
to not award the bid.
Yeah.
Because I think that the price is outrageous.
Yeah, I mean, you know how I feel about things like this. I think if it all fails, is there a plan B for where kids could go? I mean, I think,
And that's what Anthony, it depends upon what the failure is. There will be some
Right.
breaks we fix and it's down for 10 minutes, we have it running. If he said, if the vessel, the thing completely cracks, that's a huge undertaking.
I know, I mean, I live on Lloyd Neck where like the wind blows and my whole neighborhood loses power, so I guess we just forge on. But it seems like a big price to pay for something that might not happen.
Right.
Right? There's lots of things that could happen to close
Right.
school that we're not throwing over
Right.
$100,000 extra dollars at, right?
I mean, we'll be looking at things like.
We're not
audit-
burying all of our wires just in case a tree comes down. I mean,
Right, this is one of those preventative maintenance, it has to be.
It's important, but-
Right, it has to be preventative
Yeah.
because you can't just go fix it. Like your stove breaks, you go and you buy a new one, you put it in, you're down for a day. These are bigger things. I think when we took the tour, someone mentioned, one of these was the size in my apartment complex growing up. I mean, these are big pieces of equipment. They're not small. It takes a little time.
Maybe this is a silly question.
No silly questions.
But we're assuming that the labor went up, not the parts.
Not that much.
I mean, would it be worth, could we order
Beside,
the parts?
I don't know the answer to that question. Between April and now, there are new tariffs in place. I don't know if that's impacting the supply chain. Labor costs have certainly risen. There's no doubt about that. But I could not break it down for you.
Yeah.
I don't know where the contractor came up with that number. I just know it's outrageous. So,
We're going to let the staff go, because I know we have a lot going on. It's after 10. So, you could stay, no, Joe.
No.
Notice I did not look at you, I was looking straight ahead purposely.
You
You're
have to
more than
stay all
welcome
night
to
with that
stay,
Monopoly tie.
but please,
Thank you all for coming.
yes, thank you very much.
Thank
Thank
you,
you,
everyone.
have a
Ms.
great
Lempensky,
year.
do you have something for me? You did, okay, thank you. Okay, good, thank you.
Good
Thank
night,
you, everyone.
guys.
So do we need to keep discussing it, or?
I don't know if anyone has anything else to say, or we could take,
An exception to let her give her insight. She sounds like she might know about the subject or not.
I think so. I would think not.
Would it
Yeah.
change our?
Yeah.
But I'm glad she has a chance later. All right, so,
But started maybe years ago?
Yes.
That's what I was looking for,
Yes.
okay. So they're tying out the numbers, and now we're getting the allowances.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
Very good.
okay. Any other questions? All right, all in favor? Okay. We are now going to take additional business matters on pages 23 to 26 as a slate. May I have a first? Lisa, a second? Alex, any questions? All in favor? We move to special education reports. We will take CSE, CPSE, and contract approvals on page 26 as a slate. May I have a first? Alex, a second? Lisa, any questions? All in favor? We will now move to other matters on page 27 through 28, A through E as a slate. May I have a first? Bill, a second? Alex, any questions? All in favor? The agenda includes financial reports on page 28, and these reports are for informational purposes. No vote is necessary. If needed, Mr. Dragone will answer any questions from the Board of Education and the public. Feel free to call his office. Right, we're moving on to the discussion section of our agenda. I open the floor again to any other discussion items from members of the Board of Education. Okay. We will now continue with our second audience to visitors. Like to
I was just
speak?
gonna say you're right in waiting for April. It's busy in summer, and the time to do it is early fall. Early fall, you'll get the best votes, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Linigan.
All right, and that will conclude our meeting. Can I have a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I thought we had to adopt goals.
Oh,
we
yes, there
didn't.
wasn't.
Thank you.
There
We
wasn't.
didn't adopt?
Ooh, good catch. All right. Let's move to adopt our board goals that we discussed this evening for 2025, 2026 year. You may have a first. Bill, a second. Lisa? Any questions? All in favor? All right, and now we'll conclude the meeting. May I have a motion to adjourn? Oh. First, Lisa. Second, Bill. Any questions? All in favor? Okay, we're done, kids.
That motion was made with